Okay, I think we are live. The chat has been going for like 20 minutes already.
Already, hype.
I know. Hey guys. Yes, Andrew, I see that the chaos is here. I mean, my chats are usually pretty chaotic and you're always in them. So I don't know, not to say, those things correlate, but all right. Well, welcome everybody. Hey friends, welcome to my channel. Tonight is another laid back book friends chat. And I have this, I don't know if you guys have heard of him before. His channel is kind of just sort of getting off the ground here. So I thought I'd have him on and get him some exposure on my channel. Mike from Mike's Book Reviews, thank you for jumping on with me this evening for a chat.
Hey, thanks for giving me the spotlight. So hopefully I can find a
Yeah.
new foothold out there. I would be so excited to have new people pop up on the channel. That'd be great.
That's right, Andrew.
Yeah. And yes, it is part of your branding now. So I figured,
Nice.
hey, you had to have a coffee mug in the thumbnail. And that's
Oh,
apparently,
yeah.
even though I didn't create the coffee mug, but apparently it's like part of my branding now. So yeah,
I thought
I
you
guess
did.
I got.
Honestly, I was convinced.
I mean, it was a thing that when I first started, I would always edit out if I took like a sip of, because, I will talk like 30, 40 minutes without stopping because I don't do a lot of camera cuts. And people were like, wow, I mean, aren't you thirsty? I'm like, yeah, I just cut those out. And then one day I left them in there. And so many people were like, whoa, I can't believe you did that. And finally I was like, I don't care anymore.
You're
Screw it.
drinking
So you
out
still
of
get,
a
you still get
cup?
the occasional person who's mad that I'll take a sip of coffee and the drink. And I'm just like, would you rather me do that or have, 15 cuts per video,
Right.
So pick them and
Hey,
choose.
Chris.
Howdy.
Beanie King. It's funny because I bought this just because I thought it was awesome. And I've worn beanies and bandanas since I was in high school. And I didn't realize how much of a thing it was going to become. And now I get yelled at if I don't wear it on my live streams, mostly by Andrew Wizard. But so I don't know if you saw on Twitter, right before this happened, I made the comment that double stuffed Oreos were not my favorite. And it has sparked an entire Oreo conversation on my Twitter. So what is your take on Oreos officially?
I used to be a really fat guy. So, yeah, I used to have lots of opinions. I would have went with double stuff, but like I said, I changed my eating habits about 4 years ago, and now sugar, I'm hypersensitive to sugar if I have it. So yeah, double stuff. I haven't had one since, but it would probably be too much for me now. Honestly, it really would. But I was saying that people have such hot takes about food, and they get mad about what it's not going in your mouth. Why do you care? Why do you care why do you care what beer someone's drinking, what coffee they're drinking? I've never understood this. It's
It's
really
funny
weird.
because I have a lot of hot take opinions, or not hot take opinions, but just foods that everyone loves that I don't like. I don't like bacon, which all of my male friends can't handle. Like, it's
That's
just,
a primary food group before I
I know, right? Coffee is another one. I can't even handle the smell of coffee. I know.
Wow.
It's kind of nuts. So I'm really an outcast in the food world.
Now see, my wife hates coffee, but she loves the smell of it, whereas my mom
Sure.
just hated both, so.
Somebody else.
Mm.
I'm friends with your mom now.
Glad someone is.
Hi, Michael. Good to see you. Kellen. Thank you, Wizard. I'm not sure what this is in reference to.
Probably the double stuff Oreos.
Probably.
And I told before the start of this, I said I look like a homeless guy, but that's okay. I always look like a homeless guy because I keep forgetting where I put my razor. So
I mean, there's
a clean shave.
I don't know though, Mike. There are so many beards on Booktube.
I know, and they're all good beards. And I have like this roadkill thing on my face. So. Yeah.
Well, it's better than the one I could grow. So, I mean, you have that going for you.
But not with that attitude.
Let's see.
Yeah, when I was staying at home, finishing school, and I first started the channel, I tried. I was like, I had John Gwynn on. I'm like, I'm going to grow a nice Viking beard like John has. Well, this time, I don't have to worry about it for work. And it got about this long, and it just stopped. And I was like, all right, I guess that's not going to happen.
John has a great beard.
Yeah, right. And then the fact that mine was like all like Snow White, I was like, yeah, maybe not. Maybe
white beards are great. I don't know what anybody has against white beards personally. Also, speaking of John Gwynn, can we just talk about author photos for a second? Because I think it's like John Gwynn's author photo. I don't know. You've probably seen it on his website. He's in this like throne with chainmail and dogs. And I'm just like, I mean, if there was ever a man who looked like a fantasy author to the absolute like poster child T. There it
Not
is.
lying. When I saw that photo, and that was pre-beard, I think. Didn't anybody clean shaven back then? Yeah, with the
He
dogs
might have
and
been.
the axe. And I was like, yeah, I gotta check out this guy's book. That was actually how I discovered him, was based off that photo. Someone posted it back when I used to go to Reddit before I realized Reddit's not a fun place. But
Everybody says that Twitter's bad. Reddit,
well, see, the thing is
honestly.
with Twitter is you can control what you see. You know, you
Right.
can mute words, you can block people, you
Right.
can follow who you want to, turn off retweets, things like that. Reddit, you just see everything, and it's, let's just say I usually don't agree with a lot of it.
Right. Yeah, I have not waded into the Reddit pool, and from everything I've heard, I'm content to be told secondhand what's going on Reddit and not have to view it myself.
Yeah. I pretty much said, like, at this point, I think when Reddit loves a book, like r/fantasy loves a book, it's a good it signals that I'm probably not going to like it, because I mean, like, they love like Murderbot, and I couldn't stand that. There's other.
I had a hard time with that one too.
I
Like,
wasn't couldn't stand it. I just didn't get it. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought elements of it were cool.
Mm.
I would be very concerned about that diet personally.
I do a lot of that, but yeah, I need more than that, but yeah.
Mike's just coffee at this point.
Coffee, just dip the bacon in the coffee. Yeah.
Texas pecan coffee, is that a thing?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm in Texas, and pecans are pretty much like our thing out here. So yeah, it's a big deal out here for sure.
And you say pecan too, which I appreciate.
Pecan, yeah.
Pecans, all the
No,
pecans.
I think that's a northerner thing. I don't know. I've seen like everybody.
I'm a northerner, and I don't say pecan. I mean, in fairness, Minnesotans and Midwesterners do say
I think
things
we have
really
argued
weirdly.
on the Discord between pecan, and pecan.
Pecan.
Yeah, a lot of people said pecan. Weird.
Thank you, Andrew. I don't doubt it.
Andrew's on fire tonight. Watch out.
I know. Oh, he's always lighting up my chat over here. Hey, Madison, my previous Book Friends chat guest. We had a great time talking about crunchy mom things. Let's see.
I don't know how you do this. It's too hot in Texas to do this. Sorry.
Well, we just got over a foot of snow in the last 2 days, so I'm
shorts and flip flops. Taking the kids to school tomorrow. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Well,
that's why I live down here.
Yeah. Well, see, my problem is at this point, I'm kind of cemented into the southeast part of Minnesota. I'm 8th generation here, so I can't leave. You know, it's one of those things.
Armin, how dare you go to r/Brandon Sanderson? You knew who that was going to end, buddy.
Ugh. Okay.
All I said in a recent video was that I was apprehensive about reading Brandon Sanderson's Skyward series because I was afraid it was going to be like a trilogy of just like Lift from Stormlight Archive. And yeah, I got some comments about how, like, what's your problem with Lift? I'm like, well, she's an awful character and she doesn't fit in that story. Maybe that's it. But yeah, people have.
You know, it's funny because I actually share. I don't dislike Lift completely as a character. There are saving grace moments for her, I think, but I totally agree with you that she's which may be the point, but she's incredibly jarring in that series.
Out of place, yeah.
If she always so I'm not much of a Lift fan either, which I've also gotten in trouble for with the Sandersonians. But
oh, the Sanderbots, man, they love me. I mean, and then the thing was, I was really, really just like very praising of them the other day. But you know, I got this book before a lot of other people, so they're mad at me now. You know, so it's like, I mean, I understand, but I was like, yeah, Sanderson fans are always mad at me about something. So
yeah,
and I like them. I like them a lot. I have all of the stuff on hardcover, for God's sakes.
He has his own shelf on my bookshelf.
Yeah. I went into 2 shelves now. Yeah, so I mean. I love the guy, but I mean, again, like I said, I love Stephen. Before we started recording, I love Stephen King, and I criticize the hell out of him too. So I was like, just because you're critical of something doesn't mean that no author is infallible, are they?
Depends on who you ask.
Well, I guess
depends on if you ask their fandom or. Yeah, it's interesting because I think I've definitely gotten more comfortable. Like, because when you first get into BookTube, and at least this was my experience, I kind of didn't want to like ruffle any feathers.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And now that I've been here for 3 years and I've like, you know, I'm past the first couple milestone marks on the channel, I'm like, you know, I'm just having my opinions now because I'm not afraid of saying what I think about books. And it's one of those things where I think we can put authors on a pedestal way too much.
Sure.
And it's like, nobody's perfect, guys. And just because certain things don't work for you in a series doesn't mean we hate the author or think it's a bad series or any of that. So
Yeah, I think so. And that was I said that was always going to be honest, but the thing was, is like all I had talked about was books I'd really liked up to a certain point. It wasn't until I was critical of a certain character in the Wheel of Time when all of a sudden, woo, shit hit the fan. You know,
Yep.
I always said I'm not going to lie to you guys about this. Why would I do that? I'm not going to pander to get you guys to watch a video. That's ridiculous. It's not why I'm here. You know. So
Yeah.
So I understand when you first started, it's tough not to do that though.
Oh yeah, because you're still kind of and a lot of what started my channel were my Sanderson vlogs, which I did get in some light trouble for those anyway, because I had some unpopular opinions on those. But and again,
you mean they weren't all 5 stars, greatest of all time? People will be reading them 200 years.
I'm not really a fan of Oathbringer or Rhythm of War, which has definitely.
Oathbringer I thought had issues, but man,
it's not a bad book.
Rhythm of War was rough for me, man. I mean, that was the first time where I was like, I'm struggling to finish one of these books. So
yeah, same.
I'm with you.
And that's 1,200. Like, that's a commitment.
Yeah.
Let's see. Everybody's.
Hey, Thiago. Thiago sent me some really nice hardcovers, so he's my friend right now.
Trying to get a early scoop on a new video, maybe. Tentative ranking of your favorite Realm of the Elderlings books.
Oh, well, I just finished reading my 7th favorite Realm of the Elderlings books last month. So
you've read 7?
I've read 8.
Okay, all right.
And I wasn't to say it was bad. It was just like, the 6 that report were like great.
Right.
That's all.
That's the hard thing is when you say something is your least favorite book in a series. Right. It's like, again, if I love
when you're ranking a trilogy and whichever one you put third, like, I can't believe you put that one. Like, well, something's got to go there. Jeez.
They're all in first place. Everyone gets a participation trophy.
I think I'm 1A, 1B, and 1C. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way to go.
Yeah. I really wanted to do a tier rank of all of my reads last year. And I still may do that at some point. But I have a sneaking suspicion I'm going to get in trouble for that. So I've been putting it off.
Yeah, I try not to do the tier list things. I don't know. I got in trouble because I said that I felt like tier lists were just a way of wimping out of ranking something. Because I'll put them all on this row and like, no, rank them 1 through 5. Do it. Have some cojones, and people got mad about it. Okay. So I just don't do tier lists very much. I'm doing them for that Stephen King one just because that was one that I've been, requested for so long. That I said, well, that's the only way I can do that. Because if I just try to rank like 75 books or something, it's just going to be a mess, So.
Right. I like that you can put with a lot of the tier ranks where you can put them multiple books in the same tier. That makes more sense to me instead of, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine trying to do ranking every fantasy book I've ever read.
Coming in at number 46.
Right. Still loved it.
Thiago does know a perfect author, by the way.
Yes, and I know who it is. Do you know who it is?
Philip Chase.
No. Oh. Well, and that is yet unproven because we have not read the book yet.
Hey, let me ask you a question, Tori. How many bad books has Philip written? Boom.
0. That's true. That is a good point. Well, actually, because he has written them and I haven't read them, so I have no idea.
That's true.
And we all have to give Philip a little bit of crap because
he's super duper popular. I know.
Let's see. Yeah, Mark Lawrence is Thiago's favorite.
Oh, I see. I thought Thiago was talking about Thiago. So
I mean,
Mark Lawrence. Have you read Mark Lawrence?
I have read. So I read Prince of Thorns, and then I also read Book of the Ancestor. So I've read 4 Mark Lawrence, and I do really want to read his new one, The Book That Wouldn't Burn, because it looks really interesting. I'm intrigued, and I think it would be kind of fun to. Because I don't think that's tied, it's not tied with any of the previous series, or if it is, it's like a standalone thing. So, right, Thiago, he's probably gonna say I'm wrong.
I was lukewarm on Broken Empire. I never really liked the characters at all.
I didn't either.
Armin, you interrupted me here. Armin is the one who introduced me to Red Rising, by the way. I'll tell this in a second. But I want to read Book of the Ancestor this year. I do have it on my schedule right now. It's one of those things like I did with Jay Kristoff last year. I plan to just read the whole trilogy in a month. You
really like the kind of coming of age, young warrior kind of story.
Yeah, but not a psychopath rapist in Broken Empire.
That was my biggest problem. Prince of Thorns was I'm really glad that I read Book of the Ancestor because I enjoyed that trilogy a lot, and Prince of Thorns is not one of my favorite fantasy reads, and so I'm like, Book of the Ancestor was a much better fit for me as a reader, and I'm trying to say this really nicely because Chiaco's in the chat. So,
Right.
but yeah, I liked Book of the Ancestor, and I think Nona is, oh my gosh, I don't know why I'm blanking. If
You
that's
can't remember all these
Nona.
fancy names that we cram in our head on the daily? I
I
know,
know.
right?
But yeah. Yeah, I did know that, Chiago, and that's why I was wondering if Book That Wouldn't Burn is like connected
That's why I
to.
was going to go to Book of the Ancestor. People said it's more loosely, or it might stand alone. I'm not sure. Basically, they said that the Red Queen's War was connected, and I was like, maybe I'll come back to it later. I don't know.
I have
But
the
too many
first
people
book.
I respect love Mark Lawrence for me to think, okay, maybe that series just wasn't for me. Maybe there's other things. But hey, Pierce Brown, before I forget.
Yeah, let's talk about Pierce
So
Brown.
Armin actually is the one who introduced me to that because I got him into First Law. He got me into Mistborn, and then I got him into First Law. Basically, got me into Sanderson. And so he wanted to pay it back. He said, I think you'll really like Red Rising. And I read the first book, I was like, oh, and he felt really, really bad. But he just kind of said, maybe try that second one. And he was right. Now it's like top 5 series for me. It's amazing. I love it so much. And and so we go to the book signing together. Me and him drive up to Austin to go see Pierce Brown for Dark Age. And he's going to have a talk and a meet and greet and sign. And he was talking to us on Twitter. He's like, I'll sign. You want to bring 100 books up here, even if they're not mine, I'll sign them for you. Really great. And then I get there and I'm like, holy shit, this guy is stupid handsome too. So yeah, he's right. This might be a perfect author,
Yeah, I remember watching some Comic-Con panels of him, like when I'm trying to remember, that was before Iron Gold and Dark Age, I think. And he definitely got a lot of comments about that because he's one of the like heartthrob fantasy authors,
Yeah.
which I think is funny because
Right. When we were there, I noticed that the audience was probably about 85% ladies. And I was like, Armin, is this series more YA than I'm thinking that it is? And he's like, no, have you seen him? I was like, no, I don't think I have. He's like, you'll see. And then
it's
I
the
said, oh,
hair
yeah, it looks like a
swoop
GQ
and
model. Okay, yeah, okay.
right. Yeah. Okay, nobody else is hearing echo. Awesome. I closed up some of my other tabs, but I don't think I have us playing
You
on
have
other.
headphones on. There shouldn't be an echo. I don't think it's
I
coming on my
wouldn't
end.
think so. Yeah.
I mean, we've only been doing this for like a combined 8 years. We should be fine, at figuring this out. Stephen King was close to perfect, and then he wrote Tommyknockers. And
yeah. Red Rising, speaking of Pierce Brown, since it came up, I am so happy whenever I have a fellow Red Rising aficionado on my channel because so many people aren't.
Is your soda exploding?
Yeah, totally. Just
I love
all
live
over.
streams. I love stuff like this. I'm not gonna ask for karma though, because then one of my kids will walk in naked or something. So
Right. Yeah, like I'm literally covered in kombucha right now. The glamour of Booktube. So, anyways, Red
if
Rising.
you need to get a towel, I can entertain the audience for a minute.
That would be great. I will be right back,
All
everyone.
right, sure. I wish I could control these comments here, but apparently only the audio is a problem. Hey, George R. Martin does get respected in the Heartthrob Fantasy Authors tier list. I think he's a very handsome man 45 years ago, for sure. Let's see here. I almost bought a hardcover of Tommyknockers today. Well, Andrew, you need to read it. You need to read Tommyknockers and understand what it's like basically to read being on cocaine. That's basically what that book is like, is reading about being on cocaine. That's how it is. Comic-Con convention. He's also a pretty entertaining panelist. So, no, Pierce Brown is great. I mean, the most approachable guy, super, super nice. Sat there and talked to me about Dune and Dune Messiah for like 10 minutes and Ender's Game. So, I mean, this guy was obviously just like super, super awesome. And I understand that when he's writing, he just kind of like disconnects from social media, but it kind of sucks because he's like the last author that I've been trying to get on the channel that I cannot get to respond to me. I'm like, at some point, I'm going to start to take this personally. But it's not like he's, responding to everybody but me or something, So I'm okay with that. But I'm hoping.
Did I miss the Pierce Brown discussion?
Just say that that's the one author that I've been trying to get on the channel that I can't. So.
Same. Oh my gosh. So I have like a bucket list. Let's talk about our bucket list while I'm stopping kombucha.
Everybody's always like, oh, you want to talk to Stephen King? I'm like, no, probably not. That would just be like Chris Farley talking to Paul McCartney on Saturday Night Live. They're like, hey, remember when you wrote It? Yeah, that was cool. That would just be me talking to Stephen King. So I wouldn't want to do that. But yeah, I think that Pierce Brown is definitely like my last big one that I haven't gotten.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to chat with him just because, I mean, besides the fact that Red Rising is my favorite series of all time, I just think the fact that he was so young when he started it, and I'm also was a young author, and I really appreciate like that whole journey. Um, and he's made like some of his writing choices in the series just fascinate me, and I would love to actually have like a deep dive discussion with him on the characters and everything. So that would be awesome.
Michael's got a good point. Think about coffee as it doesn't explode. There you go.
You know, Michael, that is an excellent point.
It hurts a lot more if you spill it on your skin, though.
Right? Yeah, like I'm doing okay right now. Yeah, so I have white carpet under this, or cream carpet. It's very old carpet, but now there is red kombucha stain on it. So
Matt, I'm the same way. Like I'm afraid to talk to any author unless I've said great things about their books. So because I mean I never go on here and say anything bad, but I do. I'm not even going to mention the name, but there was an author like we had talked about getting together and having a discussion. Then I really just didn't like the book, and I was like, "I'm not." If he reaches out again, sure, I'll do it. But yeah, that would be a little awkward, you know. So
yeah. I mean, that is the hard part. And I try really hard, even on like Twitter and stuff. If I know like this is a book that I think a lot of other people will enjoy, it just wasn't for me personally, I'm still going to like, you know, share it with people and say, hey, I think you might like this if, you know, this fits your particular reading mojo. But
so how did you discover Red Rising?
I'm trying to remember even when I read it. I want to say it was like, was it before I started Booktube or during? I can't even remember. It's been 3 years. I don't even know.
Yeah, I can't remember what I did yesterday, so I get that.
I think I remember seeing it was going on like lists of new fantasy books or something like that, and I think I remembered seeing the synopsis and was like, "Oh, this sounds like something that would be, you know, definitely in my wheelhouse," and picked it up and I remember binging through all 3 books in like 48 hours or something like that.
Yeah, that's why I'm doing the reread because I said I read all at the time there were 4 of them. I read all 4 of those in like a month, and I was like, I felt like I've forgotten more than I actually remembered. But I actually am surprised. I actually remember quite a bit doing this reread. I'm going to be starting Morningstar here on the 1st, and it's already right here,
So
and I'm
jealous.
very tempted to do it early. But
I'm barely keeping my I read Red Rising again later last year, and I really want to keep going.
Book 1 is the one I had the problems with. It was a lot better on a reread. I still felt a lot of the things that I had the same problem with, but not nearly as much as I thought in my memory. So I think that was just going into it with a different set of expectations really affected me. You know, I said I felt like it was a little too much Hunger Games, not enough Ender's Game. That's kind of what I wanted. That's what I was kind of sold as.
Right.
And but this time around, I saw lots of things I have problems with, like thinking that Darrow was like just like a perfect person and things like that. And I was like, dude, he does nothing but screw up in that book. I don't know what I was thinking. So
he's a mess. Yeah. And Andrew's picking fun at me because I'm like one of those people that gets really torqued about the fact that people are like, oh, Red Rising is just Hunger Games for adults and all that stuff. So I actually want to do a video on it at some point.
It's like when people say it, I get it. I understand. I do think he was trying to capture that audience. Like, hey, you're a little older now, you know, something like that. But to say it's just Hunger Games on Mars, no, I don't think so. I can see why people think that.
Well, and the characters, I mean, it's definitely not YA either. And the characters are so much deeper, I think, and especially as the series goes on.
See, and you haven't read the sequels where stuff gets like just so grim. It's just like, Jesus, who hurt you, Pierce? Yeah.
He's gotten older, and
yeah, I think he got more jaded as he's become a writer. Yeah. He's read a little more Joe Abercrombie and Mark Lawrence probably. Yeah.
Right. This is a hot topic, actually. I consider it a blend of both, and people like. I have had several comments on my ranking all of my fantasy series that I've read video because I put Red Rising at the top, and I should have put SFF series in fairness.
Yeah.
But people are like, this is not fantasy. And I'm like, well, it's sci-fantasy. So like, I kind of consider it to fit
I get
in
this
there.
a lot with Dune. People are like, well, would you consider it like sci-fi or fantasy? What I've always said, and I feel the same with Red Rising as I do with Dune, is that it is science fiction that fantasy fans will enjoy,
Yeah,
because I
that's
think
a
there's
good
a
way to
lot
put
of
it.
elements that you like, the houses and the sigils and that kind of thing. A lot of that stuff, the
Yeah,
house words, things that we've
right.
grown to love at fantasy. You could tell that Pierce Brown was a big fantasy fan, and he
Mr.
writes Lord of the
Lupus.
Rings stuff in there. He writes Dune stuff in there. So I think it's just it is very to me. If you've got spaceships and you're hopping around planets and there's scientific, super scientific weapons and stuff like that,
Grav
it's science
boots.
fiction to me. Yeah, yeah, you
Yeah,
got flying boots and things like that.
yeah.
Okay, that first book, sure, you got swords and shields because they're playing a game. They're playing like capture the flag. I get that, but it's hard for me to look at that series where I'm at right now. I'm like, I don't say you get fantasy out of this at all, except unless you consider like betrayals and backstabbings fantasy.
Yeah.
If
I
that's the
think
case,
for me,
pay attention to C-SPAN once in a while.
it's partially because I think for me at least, the technology doesn't play as big of a like it plays a role, but it's not the like as much of a focus
Hmm.
of the series as I think a lot of straight science fiction would be.
Yeah, no, you want like quantum mechanics and stuff? Nah, it's not the series for you. I tell everybody, it's like imagine if like Doom was written with like Star Wars in mind. It's like
Yeah.
that. Don't be trying to put together, an Iron Rain. That could never actually happen because I'm not here for because. I'm here because fuck yeah, an Iron Rain is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to ask you too, because one of the things I've noticed that you and I share as a reading things in reading that we enjoy is the coming of age, young protagonist, which is actually, I have noticed that there's a lot of people within the fantasy community that kind of shuffle those into a YA category. It's like, oh, if there's a young protagonist, it's immediately like a YA kind of vibe, which I personally don't agree with, and I would love to get your thoughts on that too.
I think I got to agree. When I talked to Joe Abercrombie and I asked him about this, he said basically, if you are telling your publisher about your book and they're like, wait a second, you have a teenage protagonist? Like, I got a couple of ideas how we can repackage this and sell it to a specific audience. I
Yeah.
kind of feel like that because the way I said with everything that has a teenage protagonist, people want to say is YA. And I'm like, I don't get that at all because you guys read further than book one of Red Rising, and you tell me you would be okay with like a preteen reading that series with all the rape and all the murder and all the stabbing people in the eyes and pulling entrails out and stuff. I don't think so. I mean, but I get when people think, oh, it's a teenage protagonist. It's just for teenagers. I tell everybody that's an adult story that has teenagers in it. And
Right.
obviously they grow as the series goes along,
Yep.
because it does span a lot of time. So,
Yeah. Well, and it's more of a generational kind of typically in fantasy, it's more of a generational story instead of just one small, like, couple of years in the character's life.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Raven says, thanks to Mike, I fell in love with Red Rising books.
That was the goal. That was the whole point of
Yep.
this. I mean, obviously, I wanted to refresh my memory because it's been 4 years since the last book.
Right.
But yeah, the fact that so many other people were picking up and they're really, really enjoyed. Like when these people were reading it for the first time and they're like, "Oh, I really like book one." I was like, "Oh, well, buckle up. This is gonna be my favorite series."
Yeah. Yeah. When people already like Red Rising, and I'm like, okay, you're good.
Yeah,
Keep
I was
going.
afraid I had oversold book 2, honestly, but everybody's like, "No, you're right. This is ridiculously better than book 1." And I liked book 1. And I'm like, yes.
So, non-spoilers, favorite characters in Red Rising? Like, what are the characters that make that? It's at least the initial trilogy for you.
Victra is my favorite character, and
Yes.
I kind of hate saying that because people are like, "What are you talking about?"
Why? Victra's awesome.
Well, and they've only read up through 2 books so far. She doesn't debut until the 2nd book.
Right.
But Victra is very much my favorite. I also love Severo, like everybody else does.
Yes.
There's several in the first trilogy that I really did grow to love a lot. Ragnar, Valaris, obviously.
Oh,
I love all
Ragnar's
the
such a good
Obsidian.
character.
They're so cool. And I really like Roke. I just like that relationship between Roke and Darrow.
Yes.
Everybody wants to talk about Darrow and Severo, and it's great. It really is, but it's a very different relationship between Roke and Darrow. So I've always really liked that character, and that's all I'll say about that because
yeah, honestly though, like Severo's my favorite fantasy character of all time currently, because I mean he's like the most Tori archetype character that exists in fantasy, but Roke is a very close second for me. I absolutely loved his arc a lot, and honestly, like I never like the main character of story, and I shouldn't say never. I rarely like the main character of fantasy stories, and it's usually the friend or the sidekick or the
the glue guy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But Darrow, honestly, in my opinion, like, I don't dislike him as much as I dislike a lot of other fantasy protagonists. I think
I like him
he's...
better than I like Randall Thor.
Is he from
Wheel
Wheel
of
of
Time.
Time?
Wheel
Okay.
of Time.
Yep. That's one series I have not read and may not. I haven't. I've kind of committed to the I don't know about that one for me
I mean,
series.
I understand. I look at that series and I'm like, that's an undertaking. I'm glad that I started this channel while I was reading that, because
Yep.
now I've gotten so many recommendations. I don't know if I'd ever tackle a series that beefy again. That's why I said after Realm of the Eldlings, I'm like, this is it for me. I'm down to 5 books or less for your series, because it's just too much commitment,
It's a lot.
for to anything
Yep.
over 5 books now. I mean, there's so much good stuff I want to read still. And I'd like to be like you guys. I'd like to read a lot more self-pub and independent authors and stuff like that. But I'm like so tied into all these damn AAA pubs, that like, okay,
You're
I
still in the
want to
middle
get
of all
these
the
off my
series.
bucket list first, and then I
Yep.
can dip into some of the,
Well, the nice part is you've got a nice little stack, so that when you get to a point where you're ready to pick up some self-pub.
Yeah, everybody's carrying on about Ryan Cahill, so I think I've got to do that one.
I
And I know
have his first book on my
you're
shelf.
saying his name wrong. He didn't tell me there was anything
Cahill.
wrong with the way I said it, so whatever.
Ryan's so chill. He wouldn't
He's
care.
super nice. Yeah, super nice. Yeah.
Tori and I, yeah. Publishers punish Red Rising accidentally by cross-marketing with Hunger Games to get readers in. I agree.
Oh, yeah.
I think
putting
that's
Katniss's name on the front cover of that book was like, oh, I mean, then you guys got to understand is when Hunger Games ended, that was kind of like it was once Game of Thrones blew up, and every fantasy book was Game of Thrones meets blank. That's what it was with Hunger Games. When it finished, they just wanted to keep that audience.
Right.
So yeah.
Which is sad, because in my opinion, like, Katniss is so much more of a Mary Sue character, so much more than, like, she and Darrow are not even comparable in any way, in my opinion.
I tell everybody, chapter 2 of book 2 in Red Rising is like, yeah, if you think that this guy's a Mary Sue, you guys have never read a Mary Sue character, because holy hell, yeah, this guy fucks up constantly.
I agree, Matt. I think it's all under the branch, but
replace swords and shields with pew 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 and spaceships.
Exactly. Yeah. This makes me so sad, Andrew. I would have taken your extra Red Rising books just to give them a home.
I was just starting to like Andrew again, and then I remembered that.
I know.
Nah, Andrew's great. I can't wait for him to start Trust the Emerald Sea so he can tell me what page he DNFs on. So.
Yeah, Andrew's good people. We like Andrew. Yeah, so I actually read, because you've read that.
Yeah.
Forgetting it. I have it up there. I read the prologue just to kind of I taste test a lot when I'm mood reading and I'm trying to figure out what I'm in the mood for.
Done it.
And that prologue, though, like, really liked it. So I'm excited to read that one.
Forgetting Moon is one of the best book ones in fantasy I've read, for sure. That's terrific.
Exciting.
Maybe just thinks because Brian's a big goofball that he can't write or something. I'm like, why?
There are so many fantasy authors like that, though. Like, we're all a bunch of dorky nerds. Like, I don't know.
Like, I mean, look at Jim Butcher. That guy's the biggest D&D nerd ever. And do you think that guy could write epic fantasy like he has? I mean, probably not, but he does a great job. Of course, although I think with Dresden Files, he kind of is still kind of goofy in it, so.
Love the Ragnar love in the comments, by the way.
Yeah.
Ragnar's an amazing character. Roke, yep. An amazing character. It's okay, Matt. We'll still let you be in the chat. It's all right. The Jackal is still also...
Nero the Jackal and names I can't say because you might not know that they're villains where it starts.
From the second?
Yeah, so...
Yeah, that's one of those things, like with a lot of fantasy books, you just kind of got to roll with it for a while until things start to...
So how are you supposed to actually say, right? Ka isn't pronouncing cat?
Cahill?
So Cahill? Cahill? Am I supposed to say Cahill? Cahill, like I'm from Boston or something?
More like a crow, like Cahill, I think. Anybody correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I mean, I still say Bernard Cornwell every time, not Bernard Cornwell. And I'm just like, I was just like, I'm from the States, guys, deal with it. I'm from the South.
We're American. We can't say anything right.
We say everything wrong.
Sort of true. That's Terry Goodkind, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that's a...
I know everybody hates Terry Goodkind, but I don't have enough to go off of to say anything bad about it. And I don't know if anybody like a lot of people that criticize them never even read them. So I was like, is it just like a meme at this point? I don't really know. Yeah. See.
Oh, so it's more short. Like, I don't even want to try to pronounce that because I'm going to butcher it.
So it's like cow,
cow.
Okay.
Watch Americans try to pronounce names.
Maybe I'll read them, and when I'm 55, because the books are so damn long, and I finish them, maybe he'll come on and he'll tell me how to actually say them. Yeah.
I'm sure he would love to have a chat with you.
I saw him on Steve Talks Books channel one time. That guy's got a killer accent. Killer
There's
accent.
a lot of really great accents in the fantasy community. I have a video coming out tomorrow where you guys will get to hear
Shauna Lawless. Dreamy accent.
She's got a great accent.
I wish she would do audiobooks because I would just like have hearts in my eyes while I listen. Yeah. Sure. Have you read her book?
Yeah, I don't have her book yet. I really want to read it. I had her on my second episode of Imposter Syndrome. And we chatted about female characters in fantasy, and that was an amazing conversation. And
who are some of your favorite female characters in fantasy? Am I putting you on the spot? Besides
No, I have. Well, Victor's on that list for sure. Mustang too, honestly. I like Mustang a lot. It's just briefly. There are a lot of people that are like, oh, Pierce Brown doesn't write good female characters.
They're out of their mind.
Yeah, he does. My opinion, but yeah, I think his female characters are great.
I mean, even some of his side female characters, when they died in the original trilogy, I was super, super sad. And I don't get that way if he isn't writing good characters. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say one of the ones that I really liked and related to, and another besides Red Rising, was Brienne of Tarth. I love Brienne of Tarth. She's amazing.
Of course.
I really like. I like Arya a lot, but she's also annoying to some degree. So I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Arya. In Malazan, Tattersail obviously is a big one, and then I've only gotten.
She is a big one. She's a big gal.
She's amazing.
I love
she was
Vivenna.
Actually.
Did you read Warbreaker?
Yes.
Vivenna is one of my favorite Sanderson ones.
Yeah, I'm trying to think in Sanderson who I even like.
Everybody likes to trash Shallan, but I love her. I love Yasna also.
Yasna is amazing. Yasna is probably my favorite female character in Stormlight. I'm not a big fan of Shallan, but I think part of that's just because I think Sanderson hadn't really figured out her character.
Well, pre-Rhythm of War, I like Shallan a lot.
Yeah. I like Arya, Thiago. I just say she's annoying sometimes.
Artie West from First Law is a great one.
I am so excited to read those. That's one of my
first time.
Yeah, I've never read them before.
Excited for you.
I will definitely be messaging you with all of my thoughts.
Lady Jessica from Dune is one of my favorite of all time.
Nice. For Terry Goodkind. Yeah, Andrew, same.
I would do a video about this, but I just have a feeling it would go across the wrong way.
Yeah. I do actually. Okay, so in Thiago, in Book of the Ancestor, I like Nona, but Hessa is my absolute favorite female character in Book of the Ancestor. I love her.
Hey, in Wheel of Time, I like all of the female characters except Egwene. There we go. I said it. No, because Elaine sucks too. Never mind. I take it back.
Are we gonna have all of the Wheel of Time?
That's when I said that they turned on me. Like Wheel of Time fans love to see people reading the series for the first time. They love hearing their reactions, their theories, all that stuff. They're on board, but the second you get hypercritical about something, woo boy! And I said it was like around book 11. I said I thought that this one character, Egwene, I thought that she was kind of a Mary Sue, and they flipped out. I was like, this is the stuff that you guys trash.
Clutch the pearls.
All of these other authors were doing the same exact stuff, but since we love Robert Jordan, we're not allowed to call him out for the same thing, and that was when they all turned on me. So, yeah.
I've heard that the characters in Greenbone are really good.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Shay is awesome. Eight Mata. I want like a prequel novel about I told Fawn to leave that when I talked to her. Yeah, I'm excited to read her. I got her novella, Untethered Sky, and we're reading that here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, you'll have to let me know what you think of it. I'm so behind in all these big trad series.
Yeah, if you have a Booktube channel, you're always going to be behind on because you're going to get so many great recommendations.
Well, and I've taken like a massive swerve into the indie community, which has been amazing for the last like 3,
Yeah, I
4
gotta read more
months.
Rob. I gotta read more Rob Hayes.
Oh, yeah, you do.
'Cause I love Never Die. Yeah.
As a kind of spoiler for a video that I actually filmed, um, 3 days ago, and for some reason, my camera got switched to slow-mo without audio.
Oh no.
So the entire video I had to is not usable at all, which is really sad, but I am adding, Mortal Techniques to my list of favorite fantasy series, so it's going up with, Red Rising and, Gentlemen Bastards and Malazan.
Boy, Chago's ready to fight about Arya.
I know. I
He's not
didn't
playing
know. I had no idea that Thiago was such an Arya stan here.
Oh man, yeah.
Sarah Douglas, fantastic female
What does
characters.
Sarah Douglas write? I know the name, but I can't think of what she writes.
Same. Yeah. What are you looking forward to this year? I know there's a lot of like exciting fantasy releases coming out this year. What are some of your like top? I'm really excited for these.
Well, unlike other Red Rising fans I know, I have read the sequel books and I love them, and I can't wait, obviously, for the new book. I actually have already hounded the publisher 3 times about a review copy because they haven't responded, and I'm just like, I'm just not going to leave you guys alone on this, because usually I'll be like, I'll ask once, they ignore me, screw it.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm going to annoy you with this one. I'm going to annoy you. I don't think it's coming out this year. I mean, it sounded like it was going to, but
I think
the
July
more
he
silent.
said, didn't he?
No. The Empire of the Vampire 2, that sequel. I don't think it's going to come out this year, because I talked to him a lot, Jay Kristoff, and he was saying that he's picked out the title, he's picked out the artwork and all that stuff, but it's usually like a year turnaround. So I'm willing to bet it's going to be early next year. But outside of that, because I don't think John Gwynn's 3rd book's coming out because he had that family tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously he needs to take as much time as he needs.
Yep.
But I'm not really sure about any big new releases. I was sort of interested in that new James Islington. That's the author of Lycanius.
Yeah, I saw
He's got a
that.
new one coming out. But I got so pissed off when the publisher denied me for an arc. I said, screw you guys then. I probably sold a few hundred copies of Lycanius for you guys, and you're going to deny me for an arc? Screw you.
I feel like it's so weird how like arcs get decided.
So frustrating.
It's so weird.
It's incredibly frustrating. I mean, Petrick, look at Petrick's foothold, and even he has a hard time getting sometimes. It's amazing.
If
amazing,
Petrick asked for an arc, like what? Yeah, I mean,
that's why I was amazed I got sent that thing by Dragonsteel to Brandon Sanderson, because they denied me for an arc of anything Brandon Sanderson related the last 3 years, anything. So I know that Tor and Dragonsteel are different, but still, that's why it was surprising so much.
Yeah. Let's see. Hey, Pete.
You know something about Helena from the Empire of the Wolf, the Richard Swan series?
Yeah, Justice of Kings. I have that one too.
I thought that she was a better character in book 2, but I actually kind of, we were talking about this on my Discord before we started, that I feel like the only person who doesn't think that book 2 is better than book 1, because I feel like the male protagonist of the series is just, I don't know, he takes some turns in book 2 that I'm like, I don't care for this at all. So I don't know. You ever have that where everyone seems to think like something is like book of the year, and you're like, I guess. Yeah.
Yep.
That's happened to me a couple times.
Bo, his daughter, passed away fairly recently.
Yeah.
There you go. Mike, you're selling books for people.
I love it. I tell people all the time, I have no problem spending your money for you. No problem.
Right? I know whenever people comment under videos, Tori, stop adding books to my TBR. I mean, I do it to other people all the time. Andrew Wizard actually is one of those people that I'm just like, I don't want to watch. I need to stop watching his videos because
I've had people tell me that they intentionally do not watch my book hauls because they cannot afford it. Their wife or their husband is going to leave them.
Right?
They've got to stop. So yeah, I understand.
I was on a book buying ban for a few days. A couple weeks
ago.
Days. Oh yeah. My best one was I made it 24. I put myself on a book ban and I lasted 24 hours. So I'm horrible.
Yeah, at the point where I gotta start giving some stuff away or something, because I mean, like stuff that like I didn't really like work for. Like, for example, I spent so much money on those freaking Peter V. Brett and Brent Weeks books. I'm like, I can't stand those series. I'm never gonna finish it. I need to just like give them away or something. I don't know, because I could use that bookshelf space, you know.
Oh
For new
yeah.
things, I
Well,
think.
that's the thing. I mean, I have like 6 or 7 bookshelves around my house, and I'm still stacking books on the sides, and
Yeah,
so
it's all going up the wall here. Yeah,
I
yeah.
need to get. Yeah, I have my. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is my like latest acquired stack over
Yeah, I
here.
mean, like Chicago just sent me those 3 beautiful hardcovers, and they're sitting on my floor, and that's no place for beautiful hardcovers like that. Come on.
That's right.
Yeah. So I
Um,
understand why people just have moved to Kindle like completely. I get it. I
oh
get it.
yeah.
I mean, I'm always going to be a traditionalist, but yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yep, I get it. I mean, that's the nice part. What I like about my Kindle is that I can put it in my bag and take it with me, and I can bring like 80 books, so I have options.
Yeah.
So that part's nice, but I
Hey,
do
Bo,
miss
the problem isn't the giveaway. The problem is, I think it's kind of rude to say, "Hey, I'm giving these books away, but you can pay the shipping." You know?
yeah.
Oh, so
I mean, some people are fine
hardcovers
with
are
that.
heavy.
Oh yeah, but media mail shouldn't be that. I mean, shouldn't
Oh,
be that bad if you
well,
package it
Chagu, I
well.
mean, look, I'm glad that you're a Mariners fan. That's great. You could be worse. You could be a Yankees fan, you know? So
John wants to know where to start with Sanderson. That's a good question. What's your answer to that, Mike?
well, I've only read the Cosmere. I haven't read anything outside of the Cosmere. And I always tell people to start with Mistborn. If you start Mistborn, you think it's a little too young for you, then maybe I'd hop to Stormlight.
Mm-hmm.
But Mistborn is going to be several eras, which is basically several different series. The first 2 are complete now, so there's that. Whereas Stormlight is frustrating because it's in my opinion it's his best series, and he takes 3+ years between each book, and
Mm-hmm.
he's going to do that until it's done. And there's only 4 of them out. And it's supposed to be 10. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I said he says he's doing like 2 arcs of 5, and I think I'm going to tap out after 5 just because I'll be dead before he's done right. And I don't need another series just to have a huge disappointment with it never being finished, you know? So
Yeah. My answer to that, John, I actually did a video recently about where to start with Sanderson, but a couple of the places that it depends on what you like to read. Mistborn is great if you want a really fast-paced kind of coming of age heist
really cool
vibes.
magic systems here.
Really cool hard magic system, very gritty. It has a grimdark atmosphere without actually being grimdark, in my opinion. Like it has that kind of
It
dark,
feels like it
gritty.
could be labeled as YA, but I mean it's super violent. I mean
Oh yeah,
super violent. He doesn't describe, how the sausage is made, but there's people getting impaled and their
right.
eyes ripped out and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super violent.
If you want just kind of like a taste test of Sanderson without committing to a series, this is one that I always recommend to people
That's very
because
good.
it's very good. I really like this one.
And you can read that in a couple sittings too. Yeah.
Yep. So it kind of gives you a taste test of his like writing style, and it's a self-contained story, so you don't have to commit to anything outside of that. Have you read? You haven't. So if you just read Cosmere, Mike, you haven't read anything Legion by.
I haven't read Legion. I haven't read Rhythmast. I haven't read what is that one? The Reckoners. Reckoners was one of those, and Skyward. I haven't read. Those are all the ones I own and haven't read
Yeah.
yet.
Skyward, I like leaps and bounds better than Reckoners. I've read Skyward book 1 and 2, and I've read the first Reckoners book. Did not work for me at all. Skyward I really liked. There's some really cool like. I don't think you're gonna dislike the main character. She's not Lift. She's much better than Lift in my opinion. As far as just like a likable protagonist. And again, I feel like if Lift was in a different story, I might like her better.
Right.
To
I
be
said if
fair.
Lift was in one of his
To be fair.
YA stories, I would expect that. She just feels out of place in that story to me. Like Brent said earlier, her showing up and making butt jokes in the middle of Stormlight Archive.
Stormlight Archive, yeah. Which like,
fuck?
I mean, I get that there are people like that in every world, but still.
Sure.
Honestly, Andrew, it wouldn't surprise me.
Good. Maybe then I'll get approved for an arc.
Yeah, right.
Oh boy, character hit me that feels the most. Well, I mean, I feel like I can't say because it would be kind of spoilery. I'll just say I love Hilo. Hilo #Hilo did nothing wrong, and I told Fonda Lee that, and she said that was a take. Let's put there. But Hilo's great. I think Hilo is one of the best modern fantasy characters I've read. But he's not a nice guy, to put it that way. But I love my characters a little gray like that, or a lot gray like that.
Well, and it's interesting because I feel like once you have a Booktube channel and you get a community going, it's funny to watch people's predictions because all of the series you haven't read, people are like, oh, you're going to love such and such character. You're going to hate such and such character. And it's always interesting to see like how well people actually know you as a reader. And if they're right.
Living the dream, Thunder. Living the dream. This is it. I love it. At the end of the night, I don't have to edit anything. This is awesome.
I don't either.
I love being a guest.
Well, and it's nice too because hosting on my own channel, I actually am less nervous than being on other people's channels because if it's on my channel, whatever. If I say something stupid on somebody else's channel, then I'm like, sorry.
Hey, who is R with them? Never heard of them.
I don't know. Some guy.
My favorite Robin Hobb book is Fool's Errand.
My current favorite Robin Hobb book is probably, of the 3 that I've read.
You only read the first trilogy?
Yeah. I have a lot of friends who are convinced that I'm going to go nuts over Live Ship Traders.
People seem to love it or just like, I don't get it. So
I didn't dislike the first trilogy. I actually really liked it. And then I accidentally read the first book of the last trilogy because I didn't realize there were a bunch of books in between it. That was a while ago, before I was educated. And I mean, I cried in the first book of the last trilogy, not having read anything else in between. So,
yeah, that won't be the last time she'll get you like that.
Oh no, she's definitely.
Because I was telling everybody that like some of you guys like, man, some of y'all might need to toughen up a little bit. I was like, all you guys will tell me about Robin Hobb. Oh, I cry so much. Like, guys, just calm down. You guys watching Notebook too many times? What's going on? What's your deal here? And then like literally like a week later, damn it, in front of my kids too, you know?
Right. I think for me, that's what, like, she's definitely more of a slow burn author than I typically like to read. That being said, I think her character relationships are just absolutely masterful. She's so good at that. Oh, here's another question from Daryl.
It was an accident. I was doing podcasting at the time, and I never really meant to. I didn't know Booktube was a thing. But my podcast partner, he didn't really read the stuff I did. He literally like comics. That was like it. So I just said, oh, I'm just gonna read this Wheel of Time thing, and I thought I'll just make like these little video diary things. So I remember each book because it's a long series, and I'm gonna take my time, every few years to read this and expect it to take off like it did. And I just went ahead and said, you know what? I'm afraid that these videos are going to get lost on my computer or crash or something. So I just uploaded them onto the same, just the YouTube page that I had for the podcast. And I get on like the next couple of days and it's like over 1,000 views on these videos. Like, what in the hell? And every 1,000 views, all my stuff comes from iTunes really. And that was when I was like, people are like, oh, you got to check out this channel. You got to check it out. I was like, what are y'all talking? What is Booktube? I've never heard of it. And I was like, oh my God, this is a thing. I can do this. And there we are. Yeah. So it was a complete accident.
Another hot take for Tori, Mike. What are your thoughts on all these book box editions? You mean like broken binding and like all that kind of stuff?
I think that I pay enough for books. I can't keep buying all these.
Amen.
All these special edition versions. I mean, I've got like 5 versions of Dune already. I've got like 4 versions of A Song of Ice and Fire.
You have the Folio Society version of Dune?
I do. Theo bought it for me.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Shout out Theo.
Like when he was really just before he started all this, he was just a viewer. In one of my videos, I said that was like one of my like bucket list items was to get the Dune Photo Society, and he just commented, "I got you," and it showed up in the mail like a week later.
Wow.
Like, wow. So yeah, Theo's ride or die for me forever.
Theo's amazing.
Yeah.
Love Theo.
An amazing beard. I mean,
right?
It's just not fair.
We should do
Captain Riker beard from Star Trek.
Ranking all the beards on Booktube video. I don't know. I'm one of those weird people that I think that the special editions are really cool. I don't buy that many of them, even for my favorite books, because I feel like I don't know that I'd read them. Because like I want the books that I can like bend and take with me everywhere and shove in my bag, and like I would feel weird buying a like shelf ornament, I guess.
I said what I would do is I would schedule 1 Kickstarter to back per year. And I wanted to try to be an author that isn't like hugely successful. And that's why I backed the Sword of Kaigen one.
Same.
This year. And before that, I did Michael J. Sullivan, which, now he's pretty much pretty successful, I think you'd say at this point. But going forward, I think that's going to be my method. I just want to kind of help out some authors that aren't like super successful. Yeah, that's why I chose, Sword of Kaigen over the Brandon Sanderson one.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I know, like, I haven't read Sword of Kaigen yet, but I know that it's a story type that I'm probably going to really gel
Yeah, they
with.
told me I like it.
Yeah. And I mean, Felix Ortiz's art, as you
I
can tell
hope.
from
I
Never
paid
Die.
$100 for it. It better be good.
Did you see the
Yeah,
the
yeah.
proofs?
Yeah, I didn't know if that was actually the Kickstarter one or if that was for something else because, like Bo said, there's just so many different versions of things coming out now.
Mm-hmm.
Her names are very confusing, aren't they,
Oh
Robin
yeah,
Hobb?
it's hard to remember what is in what order. What isn't on the broadcast TV? I haven't said it too much. I survived. I think Derry knows about it, and I'm still alive, and I'm okay. So I think if Derry has forgiven me for that, I think I'll be all right. But yeah, it was weird because I don't know how, because I live under a rock apparently. I did not realize that there were like all these books in between the Assassin's Apprentice trilogy and the final trilogy. So I just picked up whatever that is, Fool's Assassin, yeah, and just started reading it. And I was like, oh wow, we're jumping ahead some time. Fine. I cried in the book, and then I realized that I'd done a whoops and I needed to back
And then you
up a
cried
little bit.
again because you
Right.
spoiled things for yourself. Yes, yeah.
I mean, spoilers don't actually like adjust my experience during a book reading that much, so
I
I
feel
think
like that's a generational thing. Like my generation, we're like,
don't
with spoilers,
spoil.
keep them away from us. And it feels like because the podcast, my buddy that had the podcast, he was 10 years younger than me. And he was always like, no, I'm going to read all the spoilers before I watch the movie. And I'm like, really? So yeah, I think that might be like my kids wanted those spoilers for everything. Like we started reading this new Percy Jackson book and he wanted to know what happens at the end. I'm like, well, we'll find out when we get there. And I'm
There's
like,
a difference between like hearing random spoilers for a book and the thing that I will not tolerate. And I have friends that are like non-readers that do this. They're like, oh, I'm just going to flip to the back and look at a few. I'm like, no, not in front of me. You're not. Put it away. You're not going to do that while I'm in the room. Don't do that.
I mean, I'm the type that won't even like start watching a TV show unless I'm like, nope, I got to watch it from the very beginning, So.
Thunderlord has an interesting question. There's been a lot of discussion about reviewing books going around Twitter lately, which has been, I think, a good conversation to have.
That'd be great since nobody watches reviews anymore.
I still like doing them. Like
I'll never stop, but yeah.
No, I like doing reviews, and I think those are more the evergreen content. Whereas the time goes on, those start.
You mean people aren't interested in your January 2021 TBR anymore?
No, surprisingly not. Actually,
believe it or not.
Yeah. No, and that's why I try to find a balance of doing the wrap ups, but also focusing on evergreen content because I do want to have stuff that's going to be more relevant over a longer period of time. But that's a hard line to find. But to answer Thunderlord's question, I mean, I don't know, because subjectively, I can say, oh, I really don't like this author's. Like this character does a complete 180 in the middle of the book and the motives completely change and it doesn't make any sense and I don't like that or whatever. Some people might be totally fine with it. So does that make it a bad book? For me, maybe. But it's hard. I think it's hard for me to just say, oh, this is a really bad book.
Yeah, I think for me, it's always been the same thing. This is my opinion. And I want you guys, like, one of my most famous videos is me saying why I just didn't get why everybody loves Name of the Wind so much. And I even say in that video, it was as close as I've come to like a rant video, because I try not to do those, is I say, but I want you to make up your own decision. Don't listen to me.
Exactly.
Make it up yourself. And that's always the way I'm going to be. As far as if he's saying like what makes me decide if I'm going to be negative, I just don't review it because I just don't want me being the reason someone else doesn't give a book a try. So if I just didn't work, I'll say it didn't work for me, and I'll just move along.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And I mean, that's the other thing. We're having that conversation a lot right now is that you can be honest and say, this prose style really didn't work for me, or I really didn't like how this character took this swerve or whatever it is, without attacking the author or having because I think trash talking people is where for me, that's a hard line, because it's like, I'm not going to trash talk somebody's hard work just because it didn't work for me. I go and I read 1-star, 2-star reviews of books that I really like. or might really like, and sometimes they make me want to pick it up more because I'm
Mm.
like, what this person didn't like is something they're like, oh, hated that there was a young protagonist the whole time. Well, sign me up, you know. So
Right.
I think, you know, I always tell the authors that I talk to, like, when you get 1 and 2 star reviews, like, those actually might not hurt you as much as you think they will.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, if nothing's edited and it's, yeah, I mean, that's more of a technical side of things, but mostly I
I
think it's
announced a
very
schedule like a couple years back. I was doing a big Halloween thing, and I announced all the books I was going to review ahead of time. And I had to review a book that I really did not like, and I felt just absolutely sick about it because I'd already announced I was going to do it, and I felt just so bad about it. Even though I'm like, they couldn't care less, probably. I just still felt off about it. So I said, I'm not
right.
going to review. I'm not going to announce I'm reviewing anything before I read it ever again. So.
I'm getting to the point where I almost feel like that too, because I do feel bad about. I don't feel bad about my honest opinions, but I don't
Yeah, because
want
people
people
were
to
always
take
like,
it
"Oh,
the wrong.
Mike, you like every book you review," and I'm like, "No, I just review the ones that I like." That's the difference there. Sure.
Yeah. Ooh, I bet that's really beautiful, Evie. Frankenstein is a book that I would not mind having a nice edition of.
Mm.
Matt wants to know, given how much you both spend on books, how come you haven't become library power users by now? Is there something about owning a book that appeals to you specifically?
I don't collect anything else. That's what I collect. It's just part of being a collector. I mean, like if you see someone who collects Hot Wheel cars, wouldn't it be easier just to take pictures of them? But they want to have them. I don't know. I know a lot of people don't understand. Like I get down on my book hauls all the time. Why would you want this many books or whatever? And I'm like, first of all, I don't know why you click this video if that's that's your opinion on it. But for me, I don't know. I still prefer to read physically.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's something that I really love, I want to something for me to have and something for
Yep.
me to, cherish. It's just like if you buy like a CD. Back when people still bought CDs, when you bought physical music
Mm-hmm.
or a Blu-ray or something, I mean, you've seen it already, or you can get it on demand. Why would you want the physical media? I think it's just a preference, really.
Yeah. For me, I think it's like I will sometimes check out books from the library. My thing is actually more of a I get very anxious about library book copies because it's not mine and I have to give it back within a certain deadline. And that immediately sets me up for like a stressed reading experience, I
Mm.
guess. Because as you guys just saw, if you were here for the beginning of the live stream, when my kombucha bottle sprayed all over my lap and floor, um, I have a book on the floor that got hit with it.
Oh no.
So, and it's fine. It was a book I wasn't going to keep anyway, but like I if that happened to a library book, I would feel awful, which sounds funny because it's free versus a book I paid for, but it's just one of those things where like I need to own it to feel like I don't care what happens to it as much. If that probably sounds completely backwards to everybody in the chat, but I
Mm.
don't know. If it gets wrecked, I don't it's not somebody else that's going to be sad
As
about it,
much
if
as
that
I
makes
drink
sense.
coffee around my books, I'm stunned I haven't ruined more, honestly. So,
Yeah.
mm.
It's just, and I also don't like when I'm like, I have 2 weeks to get this. Like I may set that deadline for myself, but I don't want to like have to remember to give it back at that point.
Mm.
So I haven't read it yet, Anita. I know I'm gonna love it, or I have every anticipation of loving it.
Yeah, I paid that much for it. You better believe I'm reading it now. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that don't. That's spoilers are kind of a.
And I don't like spoiling things for other people. Like, guys, how old is Lord of the Rings now? And I still won't talk about it. I mean, that's pretty much like pop culture at this point. Same with Game of Thrones or Song
Yeah.
of Ice and Fire. I hate if there's a chance you don't know anything about it. I don't want to be the person that ruins that experience for you. So that's why I do spoiler-free content on the channel. I don't want to ruin it for you.
Yeah. Okay, I'm trying to catch up with the chat
Kids are
here.
the worst, Andrew. Love them, but don't have them.
Hey, what's up?
Make right face. That's a good name.
Spoilers versus non-spoilers reviews. I like a little bit of both. I like to do a non-spoiler intro. Like, here's my overview if you don't want to know, and then I give the big, hey, now there are spoilers, and then talk a little bit about, because there are people, like, I like to go and listen. If I've read Red Rising, I like to go and hear people's full thoughts on all the characters and that kind of stuff. So Mike's dying over there.
I am. That means I remember to mute first.
So yeah, I like a little bit of both.
I mean, with spoilers, it's like that fine line. You get the people who haven't read it are mad because you're doing spoiler talk, and the people who have read it are mad when you do spoiler free. So there's no pleasing everybody. And I tried doing the half the review this and half that, and my engagement just dropped off a cliff. So I stopped doing those videos, and then I tried doing one for each, and I finally just said, you know what? If it's something that people want to hear me talk spoilers about enough, I'll do those spoiler talks now. That's kind of where I drew the line with it.
Yeah. The only thing I'll say about this is I'm 100% against rewriting people's books for any reason.
I got takes that'll probably get me in trouble with this
Same.
one. Look, I'm against banning books, period. I'm
Same.
against changing books. But I think nothing is more insulting than taking an author who doesn't even have feedback on this and changing what they wrote. That is absolutely it. This is the stuff that Ray Bradbury wrote about and George Orwell wrote about. Do not start this. That is a can of worms that should never be opened.
Because then the line is going to continue to get pushed farther and farther. Yeah, I'm 100% against it no matter what.
And the thing is I feel like while there are a lot of people usually that would be for stuff like that, or like this, like, no, that's too far. There are a lot of people that are saying, like, okay, we need to, this is a problem. We're looking back on this, and that's probably bad. Things like that. And I get that there is a place for all those discussions. But when you're talking about actually taking, and you as a writer got to believe this as well. I mean, taking someone who has written something and changing what they wrote, that is absolute insult to me. I don't even understand it.
Like, if you have a problem with the book, say so and tell, like, it's like, that's totally a better option. Make people aware of what's the, if there's content in there that you have an issue with, that's different than, that's my like tip of the iceberg thoughts on that, just as a reader and author in general. Like, oh man, I'd come back from the grave so fast.
Right.
I don't know if I've water damaged. I probably have, but I probably blocked it from my memory.
With me, I think the only thing I've ever ruined is like just mass market paperbacks. Nothing that's been painful.
Hey, Alan. Anitha, I'm not ignoring you. I answered that I have not read Sword of Kaigen. Oh, everyone's saying hello to Alan. He's taking over the chat.
It happens. It happens.
He's in. Okay, so I want to make sure that I get to this before it gets too late for Mike, because I know
I'm off tomorrow. I'm good.
What is it, 9 o'clock over there?
Yeah.
Getting dark. I just have to give you a hard time.
It's fine.
Okay, so 10 minutes before we started this, and I told Mike about it already, that I put together a save one, drop one game wherein I included Stephen King novels, which was fun because I was like Googling Stephen King novels because I know about 4 of them, I think, from memory. And I know that, Mike, you're a massive King fan, which is cool. Understatement. But I added in some fantasy novels as well. So we're going to do a save one, drop one with Mike, and I'm going to pull out random books, and he's going to have to tell me which one he would save and which one he would
nuke. All right.
Nuke.
We used to do this back in the day with like 2 songs, like
right
that you like or something like that. Yeah.
I love these games. I love them. So, Alan Walker. That's mean.
Dude, that's cold even for you, Alan. Jesus.
Ouch. I've been really nice to you this week.
I'm
What's
surprised
your problem,
it's not the other way around. I mean, Alan's never even had me on his Jeopardy thing, so I figured it would be the other way around.
He hasn't had me on his Jeopardy thing either, Mike.
I know. He's an elitist. He's an elitist.
Which is funny because he gets on Philip's case for being an elitist, so I think he's showing some true colors here. I see how
I bet he raises his pinky when he sips his tea. Yeah.
I'm hurt. I'm so sad now. I should block you right now, Alan. I'm kidding. I won't, but I'm thinking about it. I know what Alan's middle name is, and I was being nice to him still, even after that horrible betrayal, by not revealing it to the chat. Thanks, Chiago. I mean, it's true. We've had this discussion already. I'm taking all of his loyal followers. So, While we get ready to ask the first two, Dominic wants to know what manga series are we planning to read, if any. I am currently reading Alice in Borderland.
I am going to finish Vinland Saga.
Nice.
Or at least as far as it has gone so far. And then Akira. Akira was the one that I had next.
Okay. No, don't actually burn the books. All right, this is a very interesting pairing. We have Salem's Lot.
Okay.
And Ship of Magic. Save one, drop one.
Save Salem's Lot. It's one of the greatest vampire books of all time.
Ooh, I did not know
and
that.
Now all the Robert Hobb fans are flipping tables.
Easy V still in the chat. She's mad at you somewhere. I know absolutely nothing about any of the books except for it. Like, I know the plot line of that one, and that is it. So at some point.
And that was a double entendre. Good job.
Thank you. All right. All right. Pete's flipping tables for us. Yeah. Okay.
There's just so few good vampire books. Everything's just about
it's true.
It's just they ruined the genre.
Edward Cullen ruined the genre forever. AR agrees. Okay. Christine. Justice of Kings.
Christine. Now I feel like I'm going to be a homer here. I like Justice of Kings, and I know, and then Alan, who is like Richard Swan's, hype man over here, and you're doing a great job of it. Don't get me wrong. I like this series, and I think I'm just, like I said, I just finished book 2 today, and I'm lukewarm on it, whereas everybody else just loves it, and I think that's just kind of. But I did love Justice of Kings.
That's the tough part about reading a series while all the hype is going around, is that if everyone is loving it, and you're like.
Plus, Christine taught me the word shitter, and I use the word shitter a lot now.
That sounds like something just very Texas to me.
Yeah, Richard Swan isn't going to come on the channel now, Alan. Yeah, I know.
Richard's a really nice guy.
Yeah, he's a super nice guy. Andrew, your rating system sucks. Shush. Mid.
Please. That would be hilarious. I think Alan's reading it. I don't know why I'm talking to Alan right now.
Alan, I'll message you about what annoyed me about the book.
Okay, I feel like this one's a little unfair. These are 2 fantasy books. The Dragonbone Chair.
Oh.
Okay. Memories of Ice.
Dragonbone Chair. Keep it. Keep Dragonbone Chair.
Really? Yeah. All right.
No, that was a great. Robert Hobb fans, you would love the Dragonbone Chair. Trust me, you would love it. You'd love Ted Williams, for real.
Yeah, similar prose style / character.
Yeah, definitely. You can definitely tell that she was a fan for sure. Yeah.
I mean,
I know how Malazan fans feel.
Well, I'm a massive Malazan fan, and
I think that Memories of Ice. I know everybody says that's like their favorite. That was probably of the 7 1/4 that I read. I think it was probably my 3rd favorite, really. So.
Trying to find another Stephen King novel in here. I know they're in there. Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, interesting. All right. Game of Thrones, and I forgot the S, so it's Game of Thrones.
Hey, Game of Thrones, sure.
Game of Thrones and Gunslinger.
Hey, Game of Thrones, keep it. Best book one in any fantasy series ever.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, ever.
I love Red Rising. I don't know why people give it such a hard time. I think it's a great opening book, but that's just me. Talking about first books that people like or dislike. Okay, here we go. Way of Kings and Wrath by John Gwynne.
Oh, man, there's a good one. Oh, man, it's tough.
Finally making him squirm a little bit.
I think I'll say keep Way of Kings, just barely.
Ooh.
Oh, man.
Okay, God. Was Ruin your favorite book of Faithful and Fallen? Okay.
Ruin, Valor, Wrath, Malice is how I go, but I love all 4 of them.
I should have put Ruin. I thought about it.
The mid. I can't believe I've never used that. That's awesome.
Alan uses it all the time. It's really funny.
Way of Kings is just, those first 2 Stormlight books are just damn
also
near
Bridge 4.
Yeah.
Like, just such a good story arc. This is a really funny pairing. All right. The Green Mile. This is actually, I've seen the movie for this, so I know what this one's about. And Eye of the World.
The Green Mile.
Is the book I'm assuming the book is better.
It's one of the most faithful adaptations of Stephen King
Nice.
work. Yeah, for sure. That's a beautiful book.
Pet Cemetery and Red Rising.
Pet Cemetery.
Oh, Mike.
Yeah.
Ouch. Oh,
that's one of
my
King's
howler
best,
heart
that's one
right
of
now.
King's best books, though. That's unfair.
I don't know. I take it from you. I have no idea, but I believe you. Okay, The
Andrew,
Shining.
you would keep Eye of the World, really? Wow. Okay. All right.
Over Pet Cemetery.
Mm.
Let's see. Okay, I was just making sure I didn't miss anybody. The Shining.
All right.
11/22/63.
Oh, geez. I didn't know we were doing King against King. Okay.
I'm just drawing whatever comes out of the bowl.
I think if you'd asked me when I was a teenager, I would have had a different answer. At this age, I got to say keep 11/22/63.
All right.
Because if you're a hopeless romantic at heart, that story is just, so good. Yes, pretty much whatever Andrew says, it's the opposite.
The opposite.
But The Shining is amazing, guys. Good God.
There's
That's
another
tough.
11/22/63. Yeah. My parents were both born in 63.
Wow.
Okay.
You know JFK was shot in 63?
I did know that because there's always those like trivia questions, and they're like, "Where were you when JFK was
not born?" Yeah.
And my mom's always like, "I was like 4 months old."
Yeah, right.
Let's see. Okay, Homeland. Drizzt 1. Because you're a Drizzt fan, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's what I thought. And The Stand.
The Stand.
That's what I figured. That was an easy one.
So you should have Googled like Stephen King less popular books.
I will. That will be our second book friends chat.
Okay.
I will contact some other Stephen King fans.
Ask AR. He'll give you some of the Stephen mid. Yeah.
I feel like this is a good one to end on because I'm pretty sure I know what the answer is going to be. Carrie or It?
It. Basically, the only thing I'm going to pick over It is going to be Dune. So yeah.
Okay. So Dune is the official favorite period.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
All right. Well, yeah, I think it's kind of fun, and I want to do one on my channel and have my husband just like pick a whole bunch of random books off my shelves and do that. Everybody's picking The Stand.
Okay. Golden Sun or Morning Star?
Wait, who was that? Did I miss one? Oh, are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, Morning Star, 100%.
Right.
I love Golden Sun.
I'm interested to see on this reread because in my memory, Golden Sun was my favorite without a doubt.
It's so good.
But I did present the idea because my review comes out tomorrow. Is that I did say in the Golden Sun review that I wonder if it's just because I can never replace that feeling again of thinking, the series has been like a letdown to like, holy shit, this is amazing. And I remember Morningstar being just as good. I was like, I wonder if it's just because of that. You can't get that first time again kind of feeling. So
Morningstar is still like, for me, one of probably the best series ending books I have finished up to this point.
Except the series didn't end there.
It did. It's its own thing, and there's others. It's like saying that you like.
I'm with you. But that's like saying that Realm of the Eldlings ends with Assassin's Quest.
But if you read just that, you could still say that that's its own contained story.
Okay.
So I mean, I love
Golden Sun, but I got to go Ender's Game. That's one of the best science fiction books ever written.
See, I would have a harder time if it was Golden Sun versus Ender's Shadow because I like Ender's Shadow better than Ender's Game.
I haven't read anything after the first book.
Okay, well, the rest of the series, but Ender's Shadow is all from Bean's perspective, and it's phenomenal. I love it.
That's what I heard. Yeah,
so good. I have to go with Golden Sun over Ender's Game just because. But I do like Ender's Game.
I don't see how anybody likes Ender's Game, then they wouldn't like Red Rising, really. I really don't see how you couldn't.
No. Let me see if I missed anyone else. Yes, exactly, Andrew.
Oh, Andrew likes it? Damn, that means I'm going to hate it. Yes, here's the thing: is everybody thinks I'm going to get upset when they say they don't like Dune. Like I tell people, I expect you not to like Dune. It's not a book that's a people pleaser. Like I do like my why you should read, and I always say I do those on series I think people are going to like if they just give it a try. As like with Dune, it was more like why I love Dune more than a why you should read. Because it's not going to be a series that works for everybody. You either love
Mhm.
it or you don't understand why people love it. So.
I feel like so many fantasy series can be put into that
Yeah,
category, to be
sure.
honest.
Yeah.
I mean, Malazan, even like all three of my all four, three of my top four now are definitely that way. Where I've talked to people on both sides of the fence with Locke and Jean, with Malazan, with Red Rising. Um,
What do you think about the Gentleman Bastard sequels?
So I actually really love the second one a
Really?
lot. Yeah, I really love it. I know there's a lot of people that are kind of meh about it. I am like, guys, it's literally Lock and Jean and pirates.
Well, see, the first
Come
book,
on.
I thought it was fine. It didn't blow me
Yeah.
away like everyone else, and everyone's like, "Well, if you didn't like that one, you just shouldn't keep reading because the other ones aren't that good by comparison." I was like, "Okay."
I mean, Republic of Thieves, I still enjoyed because I love the characters. So, I mean, you know how that is. You love the characters so much that you
Yeah.
just want more of it, no matter what it is. It's definitely the weakest of the three by far, in my opinion. But I also know that Scott Lynch was going through a lot of personal stuff when he wrote it, and so like I kind of factored that in. Um, but uh, I really like the second one a lot. I think it's there's a lot of cool growth with Locke and Jean's relationship, and a lot of it just, I don't know, it kind of expands the world more. There's some really cool characters in the second book that they meet. So
I think my problems with that book were really just it was just the narrative structure. I didn't like the
mm,
hopping around. It didn't really click for me. It just seemed like every time, okay, I've written them into a corner. How to get? Oh, let's have a flashback. Like I'm watching an episode of Arrow. You ever watch Green Arrow? It was like, okay, well, we're gonna have to flashback to his time where he was on this island, and you see how he knows how to do this ability, and it just feels like Deus Ex Machina over and over and over again. But
mm,
I love the dialogue. The dialogue was
oh yeah,
really really good in that book.
he's excellent at dialogue, and his Motley Crew structure I really like a lot.
And I was like, do I want another series where we're not sure if it's ever going to be finished or not? And then I'm not criticizing him because I understand he's
Mhm.
going through some personal stuff. I get that. I'm just saying, did I want another one? Did I want another series where I would just be frustrated about how long it's taking to be completed? Nah, I'm good.
Mhm.
But if everybody had told me, oh, book 2 and 3 are great, I probably would have went ahead and did them anyway.
I really like book 2 a lot. I think book 3, I could see it going either way. Um, but yeah, I think book 2 is definitely worth a read at some point if you feel like it.
Well, I bought those stupid nice hardcovers of them. I should.
I don't even have the nice hardcovers of it yet. It's one of my favorite series. That's on my I have them in my eBay cart. I've had them in there for like, I don't know, 6 months, I
Mm.
think. Um,
I'll do that every time we have like a patron Zoom call. Me and Madison both have said we'll just like whatever the conversation is, we'll just be adding stuff to our Amazon cart while we're talking, and then decide if we're going to press buy or not.
right. Let's see. Huh. I mean, I can kind of see that, I guess. But I think I thought in the second book, I actually feel like they went backwards a little bit in book 3. That's just my opinion. But I thought book 2 had some really cool growth moments. That's cool, Chiago. We should talk about that. Because I think you like a character in there that I don't have any interest in. So I think that might be why.
Well, speaking of a series that might not ever be completed, are you a Name of the Wind fan?
No, I have not read it yet, in
Huh.
fairness. I have it on my Kindle. And I've read like the prologue, I think, a while ago. That's just one of those cases where I struggle to separate the author from the work
Hmm.
a little
Yeah, he's
bit.
not. He's not very nice, is he?
I have a hard time with him.
Yeah.
So for me personally, it's not, and it's also like as far as the book itself goes, because I realize this is something that I tell people. Like, I try to be able to say the book stands on its own, but Name of the Wind is just one of those where I feel like it's just kind of an ego fest, and I'm just not really. I just
For me, it just
Not
a
here
lot of
for that.
people just like, oh well, I just think he's a beautiful writer, and I'm like, man, you can be the most beautiful writer ever, but if I don't like your story
Right.
or your characters, and especially when your characters are unlikable, and that's like some of the things with a lot of modern fantasy that series that people love is like, I thought that the like Poppy War had one of the most frustrating, annoying main characters ever. And I'm just like, I have no interest in following this person's story. Now, if all your side characters were great, I could get behind it. They weren't. So I don't know. That's just a me thing. I understand that certain things aren't written for me. I'm
Yeah.
not into the just unlikable protagonists everybody thinks is fierce. I'm like, no, they're just terrible. They're awful and they're awfully written, and people just they love it. But
yeah. I mean, I like when characters like that have growth and redemption arcs, but that can be really hard because I mean, it does like we read. At least I do. I read for escapism, and I read to relax and enjoy a story completely outside of my life, and I don't want to be angry at it the whole time.
Right.
So I've had several books that I've put down like that. You know what? Hey, I love this series, so I'm not mad about it.
Well, I mean, I think that there's a different, like, McWright facing both as like a fantasy Wesley Crusher from Star Trek Next Generation. And I think it's like, I can handle a character where I just want to like wring their neck sometimes, like it's my kids. Like, I mean, I do that with Darrow. There's several times with Darrow, I'm like, oh God, Darrow, what is your problem? I think that's a little different. With both, I don't know. It's just a tool. I just didn't care.
Yeah, I mean, and this is just the thing, like with Name of the Wind, I have so many friends that love that book, and I think that's awesome. Like, I have no issue with anybody liking books that I am not a fan of. And in fairness, I can't even really say that I'm not a fan of the book because I haven't read it. So I might absolutely love it. I doubt it, but I wouldn't say never. Haunted Bookshop by Christopher Morley. I have not read that.
Me neither.
Andrew, I actually have this also in my Amazon.
Who is that? Memories of Blood and Shadow?
Of Blood and Shadow. Is that Aaron Jones? Aaron S. Jones? It's a indie fantasy writer. I can
always count on you and Andrew to introduce me to some author I've never heard of. I appreciate that.
There's whenever you're like, all right, I've worked through some of my series. I'm looking for some self-pub recommendations.
My self-pub's starting to rack up now, so yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna have a back burner for that when it gets started.
Yeah. I honestly, I'm just so impressed by the indie authors are killing it. The covers are amazing. The stories are amazing.
Gotten a lot. Some of those early ones I got when I started, it was like it looked like somebody printed that out from Windows 95. I was like, come on, man.
With the nice green to gray gradient.
Yeah. It's like stretched to fit.
Yep.
And now I'm getting the ones like, dude, this artwork's like
stunning.
Amazing.
Yeah. Wesley Crusher. I'm not sure who Wesley Crusher is. Do you know who that
Star Trek Next Generation.
Star Trek is not a thing I have seen really. I've seen a couple of the new movies, but that's it. My best friend is a massive Trekkie, so it's kind of surprising that I haven't seen more of it, to be honest. I love whatever you love, whatever books you love is awesome.
That's what I said, man. I think it's great if you love it. It's one of those things where I admitted, I don't get it. That's what that whole video was about, but yeah.
Yep, Aaron S. Jones. Yeah, Alan's starting to bemoan the stack of self-pub now too.
I think Alan might not be being genuine. Alan just wants to see his name on a blurb. That's all. That's what he's doing. He just wants his name blurred on a cover. And you know what? I don't blame him. I would love to see my name on the front cover of a book as a blurb. You know, this book is Game of Thrones meets Star Wars. You know. I don't know. Now that Christopher Rocchio's with Bain and not the awful publisher he was with before, maybe I can actually get, because he had me. I submitted blurbs for his last 2 books, and they didn't want to use them. They wanted to use the same James S.A. Corey line that they used on the first 3 books. It's like, you're not even give them a new blurb? Okay, great. But yeah, so they didn't want to give me that even on the back cover. So maybe Bain. I've got a good relationship with Bain. Maybe they'll put me on there now.
Yeah, there you go. That'd be awesome. That's another series that I have on my list and I need to get to. I have the first one. I have a lot of the first books.
At this point, you know it'll be done when you start. So
which will be lovely.
Yeah.
Bought my Kobo. I went from 10 to 70 books a year. Nice. I'm gonna sneeze.
Bless you.
Maybe.
I almost switched to Kobo.
Excuse me.
I still got my Kindle Oasis, and I'm still pretty happy with it. But yeah, I've been tempted by Kobo more than once. Yeah.
I just got my Paperwhite, and I actually don't mind it. I know a lot of people like kind of are so-so on it, but I really like it. It's the first e-reader I've ever owned, to be fair. So, but I'm cool with it. See ya, wizard.
It's nice because I read in bed a lot, and you know what? When you're a Stephen King fan, these books all weigh like 6 pounds. And I'm the type. It's like I got to get to the end of this chapter, and I'll be falling asleep, and the book will hit me in the face. I say, you know what? This weighs, like 12 ounces.
Not
If that
gonna
hits me
break
in the
your
face,
nose.
not a big deal. So don't break your face.
I'm reading Shogun right now by
Oh,
James
whoa.
Clavell, and that is like a hefty book. And I have Kay from Kay's Hidden Shelf. She's awesome. She's like, Tori, how are you not like putting a pillow in your lap yet? And I'm like,
Right. Yeah.
oh, that's a great idea. So I recently started doing that, and that definitely helps.
Yeah, I'm reading, rereading Gone with the Wind with some people on the Discord later this year, and
Nice.
Caitlin, one of my patrons, she actually sent me a hardcover of it.
Oh,
And I was like,
nice.
that's cool. I'll tell you what, during the day, I'll read out of that one, but at night, I'm going to read out of this one because I'm afraid of getting murdered.
Right. Yeah, I
Do you
dropped.
do that? Would you stop in mid chapter, or do you have to get to the end of a chapter to take a break?
If I'm like actually falling asleep, I will stop in mid chapter. But most of the time, I need that closure.
And what sucks about it is because when I'm like falling asleep and I'll force myself to finish a chapter, I'm like, I don't know why. I just have to reread it the next day.
Because you forget what happens anyway, right? And
I
that's one of the
I'm like,
reasons
what
I
happened?
actually love when books have like shorter-ish chapters, just
I love
because
John
that
Glenn.
way, yeah, that's because like you don't have to worry so much about, oh my gosh,
It
like
can be a problem though because you can't do
Erickson. Sorry, what?
yeah, right. Robin Hobb too.
Oh
But
yeah,
you can't do those one more chapter thing with John Glenn. The next thing you know, you've read 200 pages when you said you were going to stop an hour ago.
I binge read all 4 books in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
For John Gwynne, that
really
was
fast.
easy. I don't know how you do that, Anitha, because I would forget where I was.
Hey,
And
there's Theo and his nice beard.
he was at jujitsu earlier, and now
know.
he is back.
This guy.
We were
Nice
talking about
beard.
you
Now he's
earlier,
doing
Theo.
jiu-jitsu. I bet he was probably like helping people at like the soup kitchen earlier too. Jeez. Yes,
Sure
tip of the day is don't smash your face. I say that in my Kindle review. Don't smash your face.
It's true. I've dropped my phone on my face a few times, but I don't think I've ever dropped a book on my face.
That's a good recommendation. You should review your Paperwhite. I tell people all the time, how did your channel blow up so much faster than a lot of other people?
50,000 of your subscribers
And I said,
came from
because
your...
I think those Kindle videos put me into some algorithm, and people just said, hey, I want to hear what a person who actually reads a lot thinks about this. And then they're like, hey, cool, this guy talks about books. I'm going to go ahead and subscribe. So I think it was cheating. That's why I have, 88,000 subscribers, and I'll put out a new video and get like 1,000 views. That's why.
Yeah, I've thought about, and it would be kind of fun because I could do the nice spicy tagline of like, never owned an e-reader before. My thoughts on the Kindle Paperwhite. Yeah.
Is it good or is it garbage? And you got to be like,
thumbnail shot.
Yeah, right. The thing was, when I first started this, I wouldn't put my face on a thumbnail because.
Oh, really?
Wow, you read physical books when you're in the tub, Alan?
I would not do that.
That's metal. This is waterproof, but I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna take my 5-minute shower.
You found that out now. You got to put your face on the thumbnail, otherwise.
Yeah. And the thing was, like, I was taking a marketing course at the time, and they kind of had you bring this stuff up, and they said, yeah, the people will feel more personal if you put your face on things like that. And I was like, all right, I'll go ahead and do that, even though I was cursed with this, but it works. It works. Right? I tell everybody, you got to put your face on the thumbnail.
And it teaches you very quickly how many different versions of certain expressions you can do, because I try to switch it up for my thumbnails as much as I can, but there's only so many, like, that you can do. So
I love it when people know I'm on a live stream and they text me. It's great.
What are you doing, Mike?
Alan, you said you put out a video and lose 30 subs. Like every one of my shorts. That's like -1 or 2.
People keep telling me, Tori, you got to do shorts. You got to do shorts. And I'm like, from what I'm seeing, the monetization of that is so pointless. And
dude,
also,
I get like 6 cents per short. So I was like, maybe if I do like 4 million of them per year, maybe I'll actually.
Right.
But yeah, people, there's no way that I'm doing shorts because, revenue. It's like, that's not why I do it. I think it's great to get content out every single day.
Yeah.
if you want to do that.
Well,
And
they're nice for like the short reviews. That
yeah,
I
if
like
I want
that.
to do a 60-second like elevator pitch for a book, I think it's a great, or like I did today, people always ask me questions like, where should I start with Michael Crichton? Should I read the Dune sequels? I figure that's stuff that's good for shorts, but I'm not a TikToker, so I'm not going to entertain people the way that I think that they want to be entertained with those kinds of videos.
Mhm.
It's just basically like my channel, except 60 seconds instead of 20 minutes.
It's funny because I don't remember what my first video of yours was either. I remember like 3 years ago, before I took my massive break, you had a Facebook group,
Did I?
I think, right? I thought I met kind of met you on Facebook, and I remember you posting that you'd just gotten to 5,000 subs. That's what I remember.
I mean, if it was, it wasn't a group for me.
I'm trying to remember because I remember you posting somewhere that you'd gotten to 5,000 subs,
Might
and
have been
that
on
was
Twitter. I don't
it,
know.
maybe. I don't remember. But that's kind of like roughly, I think, when I
Oh my God. I got to bring this up with you and see how you feel about this. I never go back and watch my early videos because I know that they'll be just awful. You'll just look and be like, oh my God, this is just awesome. It's like looking at yourself in high school and you just want to kick your own ass.
Mhm.
Someone posted on the Discord, they posted one of my first videos, which was unboxing of a Blu-ray set. And so I figured, what the hell? I'll click. Holy hell. I was like, how have I not deleted this video? So whatever you do not go back and watch your first video.
You know what's hilarious about that? I actually went back to your channel about 2 hours before the stream started, and I scrolled to the bottom of your videos list, and I watched like the first 3 because I love that because I think it's funny to see, not funny, but like it's cool to see where people start and how different their videos are now. Minus Theo, because Theo started.
I know. I tell Theo this all the time. It's like, that's not fair.
Annoying.
These people who started with perfect lighting and perfect gear and perfect camera. I'm like, that's just not fair. You have to start.
Theo had to teach me how to use my camera. Like, it was, thank you, Theo. I appreciate that. But it was, I've been using my iPhone 7 for 3 years, and I don't know. I started with iMovie.
I don't even remember the software I was using.
Professional setup.
It was like capturing everything at like 10 frames per second. So it was so bad at the beginning. Yeah. The audio didn't match my lips. It was a train wreck at first. And that's the thing about that is I still get people all the time that watch those old Wheel of Time reviews. And I'm always like, I hate that's their first experience with the channel because everything was so poorly produced back then. But people still seem to enjoy them, so I can't just delete them.
Content
and I'm not going to redo them.
Is the most important. That's just
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I always will get a comment on videos that are like 3 or 4 years old. People are like, get a better camera, bro. And I'm like, click a new video, bro.
Send me a new camera, bro.
Yeah, Alan, that's kind of funny. Because I do know, like, when my channel was first starting to take off a bit, I was like, yeah, well, Alan thought this or Alan thought that. And I was like, who is Alan? But then I was like, wait, Alan likes the gray coats too? All right, peas in a pod.
I know who Mike is, Alan. I was around like 3 years ago, and I remember when Philip Chase started his channel. Like, I was on one of his first videos and commenting like, hey, cool, you like Lies of Locke book 2 too.
I liked Philip when I found him because I was like, yes, I'm not the only person this old doing this. Okay, I can still justify doing this because I did have those things for a while there where I was like, okay, this is going to be something I do until I graduate, and then I'm just going to drop it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, I had no idea that there was this many other people out there that like to read, especially the books I like to read, so.
Yeah, I mean, I have to give a shout out really quickly to my wonderful friends who bought me my camera for Christmas because I like.
Well, it was when you were on Saturday nights with me, and you said like, "This is like I can't afford that. I'm not buying a new camera.
Gosh,
I'm fine with this. I'm fine with this iPhone 3
or
something like that."
I would have been filming on my iPhone 7 for the next 3 years. I guarantee you.
That's when Theo presented the idea of, hey, let's get together and get her something. So I'm glad you learned how to use it. It's exciting because when I first bought this one,
I'm so proud of myself.
When I first bought this one, like for the first month, I was debating getting rid of it because I was over my head. I had no idea how to use half the settings. And if you talk to Matt on books, I still don't know how to use the settings right because he tells me all the time I look sick. And I'm like, well, I don't know.
Theo's just kind of been my cheerleader. He's like, you're doing great.
I don't think I've ever heard Theo say one mean thing, like ever.
No, Theo's great. Also, Theo, stop complaining about your face.
Theo complains about his face. Oh
Right?
yeah, it
I
sucks
don't wanna
being
hear about it.
handsome. Get the hell out of here, Theo. Your fake freaking self-deprecating humor.
Oh yeah, you are. I totally just. Are you wearing an Order of the Phoenix t-shirt?
No, I'm wearing a Black Label Society. It's a heavy metal band with
I
Zach
was
Wild.
gonna say. I want to get a Slither. I've found a Slytherin beanie on Amazon, and that's happening.
This is the first Booktube stream that Philip hasn't been on the last 3 months. I don't know how he has time to read or make his own videos.
Yep.
He is.
I hope so. I've read a lot of indie at this point, and I've been recommending Alan a bunch of indie books. So
And Philip watches and comments on everybody's video too. I was like, man, I can't keep up. I can't keep up with everybody's videos. I try.
I try to.
But just they have YouTube blocked at work, and I'm like,
oh sure,
fine. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that if they don't want us to do that. But yeah.
Are you filming not your face? Because if not, you totally should.
You just like look like you just like put the camera on like the book and talk behind the camera.
Like,
I mean, that's fine.
yeah,
it takes a lot of courage. I mean,
it does.
Let's be honest.
But you can totally do it.
Most fantasy or just book readers in general are usually pretty introverted, you know? And it takes a lot to get up the courage to get in front of the camera and talk on it. I podcasted for a decade before I did this. That's the only reason I decided to do it. Because I was like, okay, well, at least I ain't got to work on the talking part. I can talk.
I have a lot of introverted friends. So I
think when I started, I was just like, how am I going to handle nasty comments? And then it was like everybody was like super nice.
Oh yeah.
And I told my wife about that. I was like, wow, this isn't like, because before we talked about sports and media and I didn't like the new Marvel movie. You're a fucking asshole. And that's the way it was. And same with sports. You don't know nothing, you know? And so when I started doing this, everybody was like super, super nice. I told my wife, I was like, this is weird. I mean, like 99.9% are like super positive. And she's like, yeah, because stupid people don't read. And I was like, that's a good point.
I mean, I think that's just you, Alan. Let's be honest.
Yeah, maybe.
It is true. I mean, I think this is a very nice but not necessary comment, Theo. I basically know how to turn it on and off and get the videos onto my computer. And
my biggest problem is lighting, because I'm doing this in a very like the extra bedroom in the house is my office, and I don't have enough space to put the lights the right places. So I have to do what I can, and that's what I come up with. But at least I finally stopped, having a webcam. That was good. I had 10,000 subs and I was still on a webcam.
Hey, the content.
So I said, like, people were just they were always just minimizing, just listening.
No, Andrew, you know better than that.
Did you take the test, or do you just are you like my wife?
Oh no,
who just declares that she's Ravenclaw?
Well, that sounds like a very Ravenclaw thing to do. Right. My husband is the same way, and he's also a Ravenclaw, so that cracks me up. No, I knew what I was going into the test, and the test just, I was like, when you're a Slytherin, you just kind of know it in your heart.
Oh, well, I was going to say red hair, hand-me-down robe, you must be a Weasley, and they always go to Gryffindor. That's what I told my wife.
Mama Weasley is one of my favorite characters in the series, so awesome. I wouldn't complain about being a Weasley. But no, I'm a Slytherin. I'm a very hardcore Slytherin. I tell
my youngest all the time, or my oldest all the time, you're straight Slytherin. You look like Draco Malfoy. You look like a Malfoy for sure. So I always tell him that. But he took the tests and he got Hufflepuff, believe it or not, whereas I got Gryffindor.
I think it's sad because a lot of people like my husband said the same thing. Oh, I don't want to be Hufflepuff. I want to be anything but Hufflepuff. And I'm like, Hufflepuff is like the glue that is holding this universe together. Okay, let's let's not get down on the Hufflepuffs here.
Yeah, I mean Cedric Diggory was Hufflepuff,
and he's
everyone's. It didn't end well for him, but you know what? He's Batman now. So boom.
Right. And all the ladies loved him. So minus me.
Were you a Twilight reader when it was the hotness?
Okay, so I grew up with they came out when I was in high school, and all of my girlfriends were reading them. So I was like, all right, I'll read this. Fine. It's fantasy. There's vampires in it, so I'm gonna like it, right? So yeah, I read them, And I was like, all the girls were like, oh my, the Edward Cullen craze. And I was just never that person anyways, who was like, just, there were no boy posters in my room ever. So it was just like, guys, you realize how gross and toxic this is actually, right?
Thank you. Oh my God. All right. So I'm a big believer of if you're going to trash something, you need to consume it. I think that
Yes,
that's the right thing to
100%.
do.
I've read
So I
I've read
said,
them all.
okay, everyone's trashing Twilight because it's popular. It's like, okay, I gotta listen to Nickelback or something first. So I read
Right.
the first 2 books, and I was like, this is really what all y'all are fighting about. This guy that is basically an abusive boyfriend, and you guys are
Yes.
in love with this guy. I don't even
Yes.
understand what is wrong with you. And the guy that's nice to her, none of y'all like him. What's going on? What's going on here, guys? Anyway, I read through 2 books, and I was just like, her writing style is just. I
It's
don't like to criticize authors, but I
no,
was like,
but
it's like
it's
I'm reading a teenage girl's diary, and that was
mhm.
probably a choice. But I
Yep.
was like, yeah, I can't. I
Well,
can't.
and it's funny because, all the big question of the day was, are you team Edward or team Jacob? And I'm like, honestly, if I have to pick one, I'm team Jacob.
Mm,
Why? Because he actually put Bella's well-being first and was
mm,
actually like trying to protect her from a toxic relationship. Awful. Who would want that? Like, you know,
mm.
it was just, yeah, I never I'm like
Yeah,
an underworld vampires fan.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
going from that to Twilight, I was like, y'all have no idea what vampires are. These
Mm.
are glittery boy toys. These are not vampires. I don't know. Like, watch some Underworld and get back to me.
I'm always the type like that people like feel like they got to keep it like a secret. I'm like, look, as long as you're reading, man, I don't care. It's great.
Yeah,
If you're reading like smut, that's fine. I have no problem. I just want people to read more, obviously. But I was like, it's hard not to make fun of those.
yeah. For me, it's well, I'm unabashedly not a Sarah J. Maas fan either,
Mm. We
and
talked
I've
about her recently. Yeah.
yeah, I'm really not a fan of her either. And shockingly, a lot of people I know that loved Twilight are now also loving A Court of Thorns and Roses, which zero shock. And if I mean, again, I'm not like I have friends that that's their favorite series. I'm like, you do you.
I did the thing where I was just talking about. I feel like you should consume it before you trash it. And I was
Yes.
trashing Throne of Glass the other day, and Steph, one of my patrons, called me out. And I was like, "You're right. I don't have any right to be saying this because I haven't read it, and I'm not gonna. So I'm gonna stop right here." What I accused her of, as I say, if someone was like, "What is Sarah J. Maas?" I hear the name all the time. I don't know what it is. And what I said was she was basically a smut author who found out there was a really untapped demographic where it was smut novel epic fantasy, and there's a huge market now, obviously.
Epic fantasy, I
Yeah,
would give it
right, right. I was
loosely.
like, I'm sure that world building is just phenomenal.
It
Anyway,
no.
and she was like, "No, it's actually more than that." I'm like, "You're right," because I feel like people accuse Jay Kristoff of that, and I think it's really unfair. So
Mhm.
I take it back because I haven't read them, and I'm not gonna. That's why I'm trying to get Madison to read them because I know she will tell me that the audiobooks are hilarious. And she's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, I imagine that the audiobooks of sex scenes are just freaking. I don't listen to audiobooks. I imagine sex scenes are just so funny to listen to. So just me. I mean, do they actually like moan and groan when they do
I
this? They
don't
like
know.
because I
I
know a
can't
lot of the
the
audiobook
idea,
narrators acted out, so
like,
I don't know.
reading the Court of Thorns and I read the first 3 books because I have a friend who that's her favorite series of all time, and I read
No
them.
kidding.
I read them. I've read them. And I've spent the next like 3 years of my life trying to erase the fact that I've read them from my brain. Um, I I can't even like reading it on the page was bad enough. I can't even imagine.
I read Lee Bardugo, so
I Six of Crows I actually really like. I like her books. Those 2
I
books a
didn't read
lot.
those, unfortunately. I started with the other one, and
I'm
I
sorry.
made it through book 2 and was like, "Oh, it's
No.
everything I hate about YA." But,
Six of Crows is good. The
yeah,
other
Six of Crows
series,
has a little more steampunk, plus the parts of the TV show that I really love. Everyone said, "Yeah, that's all stuff from Six of Crows." Like, okay, well, maybe I do need to check that one out.
hey Troy, welcome to the repressed memories section
Yeah,
of
yeah, this is it,
So,
man.
okay, Mike, you're a big fan of Jay Kristoff's work,
Mm,
correct?
yeah,
Or a fan?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So everyone, he's kind of one of those authors that I feel like he's either really gonna work for me or I'm really not going to jive. What is your pitch for Jay Kristoff books, and do you think that he is somebody that I should try?
I'm really not sure. Plus Allison's comments, and I just don't think I can take that abuse tonight. I think with Jay Kristoff, it's going to be an author that you either love or you just can't
Yeah.
stand. I think that people try to take his books like super seriously, and I don't think you should take
Mm,
it that super serious. It's just he cusses a lot, and he has very, very spicy sex scenes. I mean, like, and when I talked to him, he basically told me he read like all of his wife's erotica novels, to kind of tell him how to write a sex scene. And they're good. They're really good, but they are the type like you'll be reading and you'll be like looking around, like if someone's looking over your shoulder or something. They're
yeah.
good. I'm not usually into stuff like that because I say that guys can't write sex scenes. Sorry, they can't. They can't write them well.
I
At
mean,
least I didn't think so until I read Jay Kristoff.
having read Sarah J. Maas novels, I would say that not all women can write them very
I'm
well
not really
either.
sure. I'm not really sure where you would fall on this one. I understand why Alan don't like them because Alan hates everything. But it's
I feel like I would end up more on the side of it not really working for me, but I do want to try one at some point. I just don't know that it's going to be one of those that I'm going to like.
Brent sold it better than me. A vampire story told by Severo. That's Empire the Vampire.
I mean,
Because it comes in with all his like. I bet Alan would read Red Rising and think that Severo's the most obnoxious, terrible character. So
that is like the one character I would fight Alan on. The one character. Anything else, I'm like, it's fine. Severo is like the one character that I would keep.
but I mean, there are a lot of people who I respect who read Empire the Vampire and called it cringe. So I don't know. That's just one of those authors that's really flip a coin. It might land on his side. I don't know. But I've read 4 of his books and I've enjoyed all of them. And I think that he writes a female protagonist really, really great.
Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, selling it as vampire story told by Severo is definitely the way to pitch it to me if you're going to.
Brent's better at this than me.
I mean,
on Discord all the time. They tell me that I sell stuff. So I'm like, you guys won't read it until Brent says it's great. So Brent is like the one who has to validate if I'm telling the truth or not. So
I mean, Alan knows my reading taste pretty well at this point, so I will probably try Empire the Vampire at some point because I feel like of any of his books, I feel like maybe that's
if you like vampires actually being scary, then yeah.
Oh yeah, Underworld is one of my favorite movie franchises of all time.
And words like twat goblin won't upset you.
Oh, good. Okay, because that would have possibly put a dent in our friendship. I'm not gonna lie, Alan.
I'm shocked. I take it back.
I am too.
I stand corrected.
Actually.
I stand corrected. You are an oak. I stand corrected.
Charmaine doesn't want me to read it either.
Yeah,
There's Severo's name is in the pitch, Alan. What am I supposed to do? Like Mass's Throne of Glass. I have several friends that are big fans of Throne of Glass.
The whole reason this conversation started was with Sarah J. Maas was I'm always buying Kindle deals like all the time.
Oh, sure.
And one day they had the entire Throne of Glass series for $4. So I said, I'm sure my wife would probably like that. A lot of the stuff that she's read seems like that would be. And this is before I even knew really much about it. I just knew it was popular with the 30-somethings who like to read young adults. Again, nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying. Nope. She was reading a lot of young adult. I had no idea it was quite so spicy, but I bought the whole thing for her and I put it on her Kindle and she was like, I don't read the stuff my students read. I was like, okay, but she's never read Twilight either, so yeah, that's why I have it on my Kindle and her Kindle because I gave her my old one. So we both have the entire Throne of Glass and I don't think either one of us is going to read it.
I mean, I'm a sucker for a deal on Amazon too, and I'm sure there are books. I mean, I have Name of the Wind on my Kindle, and I honestly do not know if I will ever read it or get past the prologue. I did read the prologue, so I have read the taste test of it.
I don't know we're talking about Kate Beckinsale, but I'm in favor.
I'm in favor.
Underworld. Underworld. I was just saying, what are we pop that up? Yes.
Oh, Celine, like I want to be her when I grow up. She's amazing. Scary Vampires.
Yeah.
That's an easy one. This is Alan's also wanting me to go read Guns of the Dawn by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and I'm definitely looking forward to that one.
I said Alan hates everything. He doesn't. He loves Richard Swan, he loves Shogun, and he loves Adrian Tchaikovsky. Apparently.
He also loves KJ Parker. So I'm missing one. I'm missing a big one.
Now, KJ Parker or RJ Barker, I can never remember which one's which because I have books by both of them.
There's a lot of authors.
One is Bone Ships and one is Wounded Kingdom. I can never keep them separate.
Zin, if you are in the Indie Accords or the Keymark Discord. There's a book deals channel on both of those that is like everything that comes out every day on Amazon. People spend way too much money when they're in those channels, but that's how. Or Twitter, I often retweet when it's indie authors if they're having a sale. If you follow me on Twitter, I will typically repost a lot of those. I mean, honestly, Bill Nye too. That's very
KJ Parker is the one with no readers.
Except Alan. Alan is the champion.
Alan, I'm reading Tchaikovsky this I think probably November, December. Whenever I finish The Expanse, I'm gonna do Children of Time, because that's the one that won that little viewer.
That one looks really good. I'm very interested in that one.
But then I think he just reads the fantasy ones, don't he? So
probably.
I think people are starting that Shadows of the Apps series on my Discord next month.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what Alan's got a channel in his Discord for that, so I think there's been some read-alongs going on. Daniel Abraham, I'm really excited to read Long Price Quartet, honestly. I'm excited.
Well, I'm reading The Expanse. That's half Daniel Abraham.
That's right.
It's half. But I have The Dagger and the Coin. I have Long Price Quartet.
Yeah, Zen, there's just, if you can't find it, let me know and I'll tag you in it. What KJ Parker book did he hate? Did I miss this? That's big news. What is a book by one of your favorite authors that you expected really loving and didn't?
Fairy Tale by Stephen King. I thought for sure that was going to be a slam dunk. So that's a recent one.
I've heard a lot of people were really disappointed in that one.
It started so good. And, I don't know. Gosh. I guess I expected to like Tyranny of Faith a lot more than I did. And again, I didn't hate Tyranny of Faith. I don't ever want. It's so much better than book one. I was like, guess. Yeah, that whole like forced romance subplot was real good. So there we go. I don't know. I'd have to think about that one, because I'm sure there's been some. I mean, there's lots of books where I'm like super excited, like Codex Alera by Jim Butcher. I was excited as hell to start that, and I was about a quarter of the way through book 2 and said, nah,
not for me.
I just put it down. Yeah.
I will say one that might get me in some trouble actually in the chat. So when I binge read Faithful and the Fallen, which I liked a lot of it. But one of my least favorite tropes is Chosen One, unless it's heavily subverted. And so that speaks for itself. One of the things that I was like kind of struggling with a little bit through that series, but Ruin. And I think part of this is one of those moments where the hype kind of hurt the book, I think, because everyone was bombarding me with, oh my gosh, you are going to freak out over Ruin. The duel, that duel is like the best thing in fantasy. And I got there and I have some issues with it. And so Ruin actually wasn't as much of a favorite read as I was anticipating it to be, which I think most, like all the John Gwynne fans are gonna riot. But
about to say that's one of my favorite moments in the series.
I know.
I understand.
Once we're off broadcast, I'll tell you why briefly. But yeah, I mean, I liked the series. It was definitely a solid like 3.5, 4-star read for me, probably 3.5. But let's see, Rhythm of War, fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I thought that I was already kind of lukewarm because I knew who the flashback character was in Rhythm of War.
Sure.
But I didn't expect the present day storyline to be so mad as well. So yeah.
That was Brandon Sanderson getting a little too excited about how his magic system works.
Yeah. You guys want to go to history class, science class? Yeah. Okay, great.
For 500 pages. Yep.
And I'll be honest, guys, with me, I grew up a soft magic or no magic guy. So with Sanderson, it's like with Allomancy, I liked it. Stormlight's just kind of getting out there to a point. I mean, even in Tress, he's talking about so much stuff about investiture. I'm like, I'm not going to pretend I understand all this magic stuff, like at all. And it's just because I'm not that type of fantasy fan. I'm not crazy about the super hard magic systems. I think Sanderson's amazing. Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
He's an amazing writer, but I quit pretending that I understood a lot of that stuff. So people are like, oh, but when you do this and that, then I'm like, nah. Y'all are talking like chemical science class right now. I'm not interested. So
I'm definitely more of a like, if the magic system in any way overshadows the characters, I'm out. Like, characters have to be the top for me.
I don't need to know how the sausage is made. Like with me, it's like, how can Gandalf use magic? Well, he's a fucking wizard. That's how he can do magic. Boom, done.
That's good for me.
I don't need
All
to
I
know
need.
the science of it or how or
Right.
why. Yeah. So,
Hey, Caesar.
and I know that's just a choice. You know, a lot of people really do like that.
Yeah, I'm very excited to read Forgetting Moon, because I love a subverted Chosen One trope. I just don't like the straight up classic fantasy, like Chosen One, farm boy, learns sword fighting, is randomly incredible at it for no reason other than that he's incredible at it, and gets trained by this like older. I mean, it's just I'm kind of over that, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
If it's done well, I'll still enjoy it.
With me, with tropes, I say as long as, you know, you don't act like you're reinventing the wheel. You don't want pats on the back for thinking you're doing something special that everybody's done a million times. Nah. But, you know, it's why I came to the genre in the first place. So it always kind of makes me feel like I'm putting back on a
nostalgia
pair of pants or something, you know?
Yeah.
But I definitely get when people are over it. You know, I'm still about a Dark Lord. I'm still about, you know, farm boy leaves home or strange man comes to town kind of fantasy. I'm always still kind of in favor of that stuff, but I definitely get when people are over it for sure. Because everyone told me, oh God, Malice is good, but good Lord, it starts so slow. And when I read it, I was like, I thought it was fine, but it might be because it's like every other fantasy story I ever read up to that point. You know? So.
Yeah. And I think, like, again, it's the tropes themselves. If they're done really, really well, I'm still here for it. So it's not, I don't feel like there are any tropes that like, oh, I'm, you know, this trope should be not in fantasy. I'm definitely not in that camp at all. It's harder to sell me on a straight up classic Chosen One trope now. But
I'll take that every time over seriously convoluted magic system. So
same, honestly.
I'm like you. I want to escape. I want to just get lost in this world. I don't want to feel like I need to get out a pen and paper and make notes and study. Nope. And I mean, outside of like learning the cast, learning the land and things like that, that's different. But like having this, like when I first started reading Mistborn at first, I was going back to that elemental chart. Okay, they're combining this and this. Okay. And then after a while, I was just like, you know what? They're fighting.
Yep.
I don't need to understand why they're mixing these two metals together. That's fine. They're fighting. I'll just trust. I learned this as being a Michael Crichton reader. I'm going to trust that he got the science right. Yes. I'm not going to go fact check them. I'm just going to enjoy the story. And so that's kind of how I approach Sanderson books.
I have Jurassic Park on my shelf also.
It's a pretty damn good book.
I'm excited. That's one that I was like, you know, this is one of those like classic-ish books that.
And it's different enough from the movie. I think you'll still be surprised.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. The movies were very like cult classic cringe for me. However, I will go die on the hill that Mama T-Rex is the coolest character in that franchise, period. Like,
sure.
She's amazing.
Like even those new movies are painful, but like the first of the new ones with Chris Pratt, where it had the T-Rex in it, I was like, yeah,
yeah,
I'm with it. That's why no matter how bad those movies still get, I still keep watching them because it's
as
just
long
in
as she's
DNA.
in it, I'm here for it.
You know, so yeah.
Oh yeah.
When they try to sideline T-Rex and give me different dinosaurs, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But can we get back to my T-Rex, please?
Right.
So I'm with you.
Yeah, this is the other thing too, and I really think it has to do with like personality type to some degree, because I have friends who are really like analytical brain people who loved Rhythm of War because all of the sciencey kind of stuff that was in it. And I think that's awesome. And I think, like, again, that's why when anybody says a certain book doesn't work for them, that it doesn't mean it's a bad book.
Yeah,
just means
sure. We just all have things that we prefer. And when it comes to like magic like that, less is more for me. I don't need to do a ton. I mean, even like before it fell off a cliff, Lightbringer by Brent Wiggs, I thought that was a great magic system. It was very much like Green Lantern or something, like getting to know all the different colors and what they represented and stuff like that. But then he starts mixing them. He starts going, I was like, now you're just trying to be Sanderson. Knock it off. Knock it off.
Leave it alone.
I don't want to start talking about Brent Wiggs because that usually doesn't end well. But hey, God bless Patrick for taking one for the team and reading his new book. Good for him.
Patrick is always the fantasy champion over there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Never met a book he didn't want to try. Yeah, good for him.
That's true. Yeah, well, we've been talking for 2 hours, and I honestly feel like we could keep going, but
No problem.
I
Yeah,
want to say thank you so much
of
for
course.
coming on the channel and hanging out and chatting. Um, and is there anything else? What do you want to recommend to people that's a book you read recently you really like that people should go check out?
Well, first I'll say thank you for the invite
Oh,
because
yeah.
for the longest time, people are like, oh, well, I haven't asked you to come on because I just thought you were too busy. I'm like, great, I'm too
You're one of
awesome
the
for myself. I'm
untouchables.
so awesome. No one wants to ask me to come on now. So I appreciate that. I love
Yeah.
going on other people's channels because I don't have to think of what to talk about.
Well, I had to laugh because as soon as I heard you say that on a live stream, you were like, "Nobody ever asked me." I was like, "Dude, hey, Mike,
Yeah.
come on over. That's
So
totally cool."
anytime. And
Yeah.
I think I got to recommend We Are the Dead by Mike Shackle. I read that recently and I
Yes.
really liked it.
I wanna get to
But
that so
you
bad.
do got to be in a good place because that book will
Introversion.
get you depressed. If you're already in a feeling kind of blue, it might not be the book for you, but it's really just bad people, but not in a way where it's just nihilism. I still think
Yeah.
you still have a rooting interest, but it is whew,
It's
it is
heavy stuff.
dark.
Did
But
you
yeah, I'm
see he
excited.
just posted on his, Twitter today, and I had to laugh. He said that he got a one-star review from somebody who was like, "There's nothing redeeming or uplifting or whatever in this book, and I absolutely hated it. I'm sorry I read it. I'm sorry I bought it." And, like, somebody right underneath that commented, "Did you read the title and synopsis?" Like like, it's a good point. Yeah, I
Whereas
don't
I would
expect
have been like, so are you starting book two?
right? Like, when I go into something like Tress of the Emerald Sea, I'm expecting something a little bit more on the wholesome side, but if
Sure.
it's We Are the Dead with a giant, like, skull and horns on the cover, I'm not going into it thinking, "Alright, cozy fantasy, let's go."
Right, right. No, it's very dark, very dark, but never to a point where I said, like, I don't feel like I could care less about any of the characters. I was very
Yeah,
invested. I didn't want anybody to die at the end, so that's I felt like it was doing a pretty good job, and I can't wait to continue with
nice.
that series because it's just so unique. I'd never
Yeah,
seen a fantasy story that starts with your characters lose this battle, and now they're in a city that is occupied and trying to
love
make a
it,
new life. That's a great
love
idea.
it.
So,
Yeah, I
I
know
mean,
the
the only one I
brothers
think
Grimm
that's
really
top
like
that
it
is Never Die, so, where it's like, "Hey, yeah, they lost. Have fun."
too. Right? Yeah. I was so glad when I saw you pick up Never Die. That just made me so happy. I'm like a massive fan of Mortal Techniques obviously now, and honestly, if you keep going in the series, what's really cool about it, and this is something I talked about on my video that is unusable now. Um but the book 3 was like one of the best payoff books in a series I've ever read because even though they're standalones, the little Easter eggs that he had in there were just so he did it so well. I loved it
Alright,
so
so read
much.
at least through book 3 is what you're saying, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Take
Well, I
note.
mean, you liked book 1 though.
Yeah,
So it's like you know, what do you have to lose? Book 2 has got some really cool magic stuff in it, so
I will definitely, add it to the list,
yep. Well, at least you read and enjoyed book 1, so
I did,
you're not
I did.
going into it completely blind, but yeah. I'm trying to think what well, Seasons of Albadown, I just did my book review for that, and that's a really short little I don't know where I put it. It's over here, I think.
You did some teaser today, like, you got some big video coming up, don't you?
I do, and I should probably mention that here. So yeah, tomorrow I have what is possibly the coolest video I have ever done on my channel because it involves more than just me. Um, and it's called Dear Writer, and I'm not going to say much more about it than that. Just it's I was very emotional while editing it, and I've had my people that checked it over for me were also getting very emotional over it. And I'm very excited to put that out because I think it's something that is going to be really good for just the writing community in general, and I think a lot of the booktubers are really going to enjoy it too. So
Alright,
I'm
well,
excited
looking
about
forward
it.
to it.
Coming out
I'm
tomorrow at noon Central Time.
I'm just doing a Golden Sun review, but, hey.
I mean, that's also that's up there, Mike.
Yeah, so
It's Red
awesome.
Rising.
I look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, Thiago has seen it, so can confirm. Clearly, yes, I'm being called out briefly. Yes, after having Mike on my channel, which is that is honestly the ultimate point of my booktube career thus
No,
far.
no.
Until
I'm
tomorrow at
just a
12.
wee little channel trying to get. I appreciate you
Yeah,
trying to give me some
y'all go
wings and some legs
subscribe.
here.
I put all of Mike's links down in the description box below. Go sub to his
Uh,
channel, help a guy out.
yeah, go there and tell me how the hell do you make this TikTok thing work? Because I don't get it. Because like
Right.
I'll put the same content on my shorts. I'll put them on Instagram, and they get really good traffic. TikTok nothing, like maybe 50 views.
TikTok is another one of those things that I just,
Yeah.
no, that's not my thing. That's all right. We can't be good at everything, Mike.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We gotta stick to our strengths.
Yeah. If only your YouTube channel would take off, then you
I
could
know,
really,
right? You feel like
yeah.
after this many years, it would do something. I don't know.
All right.
We'll see.
Yep.
We'll see.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much again for being in the chat, and we will definitely do this again and chat about more things. And what I would like to do, to end on the beanie note, what I would like to do, Mike, if you're up for it at some point, is after I have read the first Dark Tower book, we could have a chat about that.
Say the word. Say the
All
word.
right.
I'll be there.
That'll
sure.
be my first Stephen King experience ever, officially.
All right.
So, all right. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for hanging out with us in the chat. Thanks, Mike, for being here and being on the Beanie Crew. And we will see you guys in the next video.